Hey everyone, it's Alex here, and on today's episode of the YaBonks Show, I have a very special guest. I have Austin, otherwise known as LameHillBilly, as you might know him in the DeFi community. He is the leader of Frozen Walrus, as well as the brand new Walrus Anglers Club NFT project. And today we are talking about Walrus Anglers Club NFTs. It is an NFT project that gives you rewards based on Kadena mining hashing. So you actually get to share in their Kadena mining farm, and you get a portion of their hashing power for these NFTs. Austin, do you want to say hi to the audience and introduce yourself?
Yeah, man, I'm super excited to be here. There's nobody that I talk to more probably in one conversation than Alex. Honestly, we've been in this call for hours already before we even started this because we are so like-minded, and I feel like this is becoming like two worlds of integrity crashing together. And we talked about it briefly, and I'm just excited to be here. Of course, he introduced me. I am Lame Hillbilly. I've been in the DeFi scene since January. I went full time, and I had a wild experience of being mod to protocol owner to now running my own protocol that I developed with a team. And yeah, we're launching Walrus Anglers Club, and that's really what our focus is here today. And I think that it's an exciting project that we're launching, and I really can't wait to dig into it because I think there's a lot of value in it. And I don't do a lot of marketing. I don't trust a lot of people, and Alex, I do trust of a lot. And so I'm excited to get this information out to his community and to anybody else that's able to view it.
Well, thanks, Austin. I appreciate that. And there are a few people I trust out here too. You are one of them. And if I see you interacting in a server or with a group of people, I generally take that when I join like a Discord server as a good sign that like maybe I'm in a real project. Rather than a fake Discord server, because I'm always getting messages anyway from scammers and stuff trying to get me into fake projects to do videos for them and stuff. Anyway, so if I go into a new Tomb Fork server and I see you in there and you're interacting with other people I know, I take that as a good sign. Now
Yeah.
I've been in and out of Frozen Walrus now for months. I think it's a very cool project. I have made good money on Frozen Walrus, as have a lot of other people. And you've always been a straight shooter, and I appreciate that so much. As so does your community, and that's why I think you have one of the strongest communities of any projects out here in the bear market, because you're still the same person, and you're not like tricking a bunch of people. You're straight up with them, good or bad. You give them the news how it is, and you're always working to improve. So, with that being said, your latest improvement and adaptation to this current bear market is Walrus Anglers Club. Now, can you give me a quick elevator pitch, a 6,000 foot bird's eye view of what Walrus Anglers Club is?
Yeah, so Walrus Anglers Club is a 10,000 NFT mint project where we use that capital to purchase real world ASIC miners that will be leased and owned in New Zealand. And we will, through that hash rate and through that profit from Kadena, we will be giving it out to NFT holders via every month on a community vote. And so I guess that we say Kadena, and I just want to make sure that I'm open and honest about it. I work with Sean, my business partner in this venture. He's actually done this for countless years now by pricing, shipping, and receiving of these ASIC miners. He is so good at finding optimal prices, and I do want to talk about how he got these KA3s when we do discuss that. But he's so good at it that it's such a good venture for us through Frozen Wars, but also for the community via a couple different reasons that make us a lot different than some of the other projects that you've seen. But these NFTs specifically, these utility NFTs that offer basket hash rates, and that's what we want to do, is that we're not stuck into Kadena, right? We're stuck in the mining game, the ASIC game.
Okay.
So if we run the Kadena farm, the first one, but we come to find out that the difficulty is raised too much where it's not as profitable, but Litecoin is setting around the same difficulty for ASIC miners, and we find a great deal for ASIC miners for Litecoin, well, then we'll open up another farm with Litecoin. What we're trying to do is make it a very simplistic approach to offering you the most optimal, profitable ASIC miners and giving a piece of that via an NFT. And so that's kind of a little bit more dedicated view of it.
That's a really, really good overview of your project. I've been diving into it. As you know, I pulled an all-nighter last night. You called me on short notice here, and I'm going to Dubai in like 2 days. So I'm like, dude, I don't have time. I need to put like 10 hours of research into this. And I was like, all right, I'll do it for you. I moved things around. I pulled an all-nighter. I worked on it all day. I really dove into what you're doing here, and I came up with some questions. I went through your community on Discord, and I saw some things other people were talking about as well that had some similar questions. So I've got a whole long list typed up here, and it's good stuff. So audience, thank you for watching. By the way, this is a sponsored video and all that. This is not financial advice. This is purely entertainment, informational purposes only. I don't think any of this is you know, securities or anything like that, because this is all unregulated right now. We don't really know. So I consider everything in DeFi a game. So this is the Walrus Anglers Club game, NFTs, yeah.
And let me make it more clear. I paid Alex for this video. I like to make it clear too, because of how you are and how I am. Yeah. Some of the people sidestepping this, and they try and manipulate people. But if you ever view my Discord or anything else, you know, I just stay humanized, because I really do want to help people, and I always have. And for a very long time, I didn't have the capability. But through Frozen Walrus and my ventures in DeFi, I really do feel obligated. And I may be one of the only project owners that doesn't funnel money out of the project, but somehow finds ways to funnel money out of the project into the user's hands via a lot of different scenarios. In fact, over the last 3 weeks, I've given out $350K back to the community via airdrops and other things to make commitments whole. And, you know, I plan to continue doing that, even if it does make me go broke, because I do want to change the DeFi scene. And that's what that's my purpose, right? I want my kids to use this as a safe place. And I think that DeFi is going to advance into this, into a new age where our kids and the next generation will use it. And if I can leave this place as a project owner that didn't have mud on him, and I went through the trenches, and I did the right thing at every single step, and that produced a profitable environment, and I was able to do it full time, I think that sets a precedent for new DeFi project owners to say, look what worked for, you know, LameHillBilly in Austin, and maybe we should be doing this. Or maybe we can't do this because we don't have the credentials like he did. I couldn't publicly dox. I'm not in a country. Cool. Don't do it. This isn't for everybody, right? If you're not in this with the best intentions, the bear market already crushed you. See you later. You're not here probably anymore anyway. But if you're looking to get into this kind of work, understand that it takes commitment, hours, and you have to run it like a real business. And anybody that's playing anything else, any other instrument in here, you're not here for the long term, and good luck to you.
And I appreciate your transparency and your straightforward attitude. I consider myself the same way, and like, I don't accept every deal that comes across my desk. I turn down most of them, actually, because of transparency and integrity. And I have a set of conditions, basically, that it's like, I have to, like, you met all my conditions. I already knew that. We've worked together. Like, we've talked.
I sent in the vial of blood. I did everything you asked. I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah. So I'm happy to work with you. You're you're on my short list of people I would work with in a second. So I appreciate it. And, you know, as you know, I put in a ton of effort and time into this business, just like you. And I love hanging out with a hustler that's a straight shooter. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So with that being said, I do genuinely like Walrus Anglers Club and Frozen Walrus. So that is not a shill. That's an honest opinion. And I do actually have one of these NFTs, and I also have another one that Austin was kind enough to give me for a giveaway. So I'm going to be setting up in the near future a Walrus Anglers Club NFT giveaway. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you're subscribed and all that, and hit the notification bell, because I'll drop that video and I'll do a big giveaway contest for one of these things, and somebody can win it. So, all right, with all that being said, dude, I've got like 30 questions about this business model. Now, I do want to share, because let me show my screen.
I need you to talk about the design of this white paper and how much you like it, because I made it, and I do a lot of my design. I'm very grassroots, and Alex knows this. Is that
Yeah.
like, if there's something that I can do in place of like paying somebody else, I do it. And so I dug my hand in this, and try to make it informative, but also to the point, and hopefully when we review it, everybody feels that way as well.
I love it. The entrepreneurial bootstrapping attitude. That's how I
Yeah.
started this whole business too. I bootstrapped
Yep.
it from nothing but a ton of sweat and hard work, and now it's thriving. So
Even have my own YouTube channel. I don't know, and many project owners that have their own YouTube channel that docs
everybody
themselves.
subscribe to LameHillBilly on YouTube. It's an
Yeah, man,
excellent
we're trying to hit that
channel.
1,000 subscriber mark, man. I got to start shilling like the YouTubers do, and get it up there. But it's an educational platform for my users, and I think this is a better medium than just typing in Discord, right? So.
And I actually, when I was learning about seigniorage protocols back in the day, a couple months ago, I used a lot of your videos to
People
learn
can
about it.
So awesome. I
Yeah.
love that. Like, I love that level of being able to help people, and like hearing about it. Like, I don't know why, but it's so nice to know that like I've provided context, or a better understanding of something that allowed someone to benefit from it. That's so cool. I love that.
I think it's great. You educated me. You influenced me with your educational content. And now,
Oh,
all
yeah.
right, look at these. These are the NFTs that we're looking at here. These are some examples, right? These are the Walrus Anglers. They are walruses that are fishing people, or walruses, right? So first off,
Fishing
I gotta know, yeah, how did you come up with this concept for just like the name and the theme here?
So full disclosure, obviously club is a very these mining NFTs are becoming more popular, and there's a reason for it, and we can explain that later. But the logo, it came to mind just like from being I love the word anglers. I fish a lot. And I love that concept, and being able to fish for yields kind of fit the theme. And so obviously walrus being from Frozen Walrus, the three just fit together like peanut butter and jelly. And so that's really where the name came from. Now the NFTs themselves, I have to give full credit to my artist, who everybody may know from a small project called Hydroelectric. Obviously, I'm joking. They're huge. But I've talked to Crypto Sam a ton, and he's such a good guy. And I just asked him, I said, would you be willing to do a 10,000 NFT mint collection? Because I love your art. And I love art, and I love like personalized art. And so I said, look, this is what I've got. I gave him a vague description of what I wanted. And I said, 200 traits would be great on 10,000 NFTs. And they said, cool. They went in. I gave them nothing other than that, what I just told you guys. And their artist produced this. Absolutely phenomenal. They did amazing work. And so if you're an NFT collector, there's over 200 traits. They look beautiful. There's a lot of rarities and things involved. And so like just on a level of like the artistic approach, I think the quality is top notch. And, along with that, they actually have utility. So it's a great thing.
Yeah, I love the style and the artwork. I'm a big Hydro Whales fan. I think I am good friends with Crypto Sam. I did a great AMA with him about Project 79, and I'm going out to Dubai actually with Project 79 and the Hydro Whales team, and I'm going to do an in-person audit of their gold refinery for Project 79 to show the community that they're actually dealing in real gold. So that way, it puts to rest any of that stuff. I've signed all the NDAs with the lawyers. Like, we've gone through the whole thing. So like, Sam's a straight shooter. Hydro Whales is a great project. It's, in my head, the most popular NFT project of the year. I could, I don't know if that's true by size or whatever, but in the sectors we run in,
it's the only thing in the bear market that ever 6x in value. Like they have insane evaluation for a reason.
Yeah.
I actually got close with Crypto Sam because of the LC debacle that we all know and love. People
Yeah.
were shouting my name out and saying that I was a very trusted, protocol lead. And so he said he just kept sending me messages day by day during that entire fall. And he was like, dude, people keep saying your name. Like, obviously you're very trusted in the space. And so that's really where we kind of connected and networked. And so, he's a great guy. Their team is absolutely phenomenal. They're on their P's and Q's 24/7. They're developing real utilities for people. So I can't talk about Walrus Anglers Club without giving proper credit to Hydroelectric for the idea and the approach that I took on this.
Okay. Yeah, and there are a lot of similarities here with how you're running this project. And Sam and his team are very bright and industrious, and it is comforting knowing that you have collaborated with basically the best in the space to help you put together some of these ideas and models that we're going to go through here. So first off, what network is this on?
My favorite, Avalanche, which some people see as a crux because the NFT market is so much smaller here on Avalanche than it is Ethereum. But it worked out well for us because of the mechanic at play whenever you mint a Walrus Anglers Club NFT. So I love Avalanche. I think Avalanche will be a top 5 currency, subnets, and everything it has going for it. It's one of the best chains to ever use as a user experience. It has plenty of validators, and it's a beautiful chain. And I think that it will see a lot of popularity in the near future.
I love using Avalanche for DeFi project. It's fast, it's super cheap, and it
doesn't get taken down because they have a $2 million hack, or I'm sorry, a $500 million hack. Like Binance just went down. AVAX can't do that. They can't just turn it off, right? And that's what DeFi is.
Now, so you're on AVAX, and how many NFTs do you plan to mint, and how much do they cost?
So there is 4 phases, 2,500 mints per phase. And you can see that there's a rising cost. And of course, that's a GameFi risk mechanic that we wanted to put in to allow people that got into phase 1 to automatically have a higher evaluation on their NFT in phase 2, in phase 3, and phase 4. They go up in value, and that is to secure more mints in the process. Of course, every project lead may not tell you this, but you do have to add GameFi mechanics that allow FOMO to take place to some extent. You're selling a product, and whatever edge you can get to sell that product is what is necessary. So that's kind of the pricing. Right now, it's $100. Right, it's 100 USDC, and also if you mint in phase 1, you can always OTC with me for that $100 USDC price tag through all other phases. So say we get to phase 4 and you got some more capital, you can get half off. And so that's kind of the benefit that we saw happen in Hydroelectric that a lot of people requested. And of course, I always try and listen to my community, you know that, and I wanted to make sure that I was able to oblige them.
So that's really cool that if you buy one of the $100 NFTs from phase 1, you will get that same price in phase 2, 3, and 4, even though new people to the project would be paying the full retail price of $125 for phase 2, $150 phase 3, $200 phase 4. And that's awesome. So what I also like about Avalanche is the gas fees to mint one of these is probably like a penny or less, right?
It's roughly like 0.005 AVAX, I think, to mint one, which is like minimal,
Yeah.
It's just a fast.
What happened? Like, I'm still saving up for a Hydro Whale NFT. They 6x'd in price, and I have to I'm like chasing them. Basically.
Yeah, we bought them from our Frozen Walrus Treasury. We spent 4,000 for 10. Of course, they're worth about 24,000 now. But I knew that team was something when I first met them. And so, they already had a huge community of dedicated members, and they ran their community very similar to mine. And so when that happened, and when I saw them, I was like, yeah, this is the play. And so we made a vote for it for a DAO Treasury investment. But yeah, absolutely excellent.
And the thing is, though, they're on Ethereum. So when I went to mint. I had the I got it like I the last day of the mint, the last few hours, I didn't have enough Ethereum in my wallet to do the mint because the gas fee was like 8. I should have, but like
That's what
I
did.
it's like I don't know. So it's stupid of me. I should have reached out, but like I missed the cutoff by a few hours waiting for funds to move like to transfer over, and so now I'm like paying for it. I'm saving up to get one, but like
Yeah.
I didn't make that mistake here. I got one of them, and I might get a bunch more depending on how my budget works out. But I like that factor that you have a price that's very it's manageable for somebody like me. Like I'm not a whale, not yet.
I was very careful because everyone said you should list them at 500 starting price. You should list them at 250. You should list them at this. And I said, look, $100 is still a lot to a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's a lot to me personally. And I wanted to make sure that like this is a community oriented project. And I wanted to make sure that we were able to provide something that was lower risk and had a potential for a very high return. And I think that is one of the few things that sets us apart from other protocols that are, charging like $1,000. Maybe, and the everybody says, oh, well, these NFTs, their biggest, ploy is that you're able to buy into miners, ASIC miners, which we all know is very expensive. But to me, I'm taking $1,000 risk or a $7,000 risk, and it's a long time for return. And so I didn't want people to bite off more than they could chew. And we're in a bear market where people have lost capital, have no capital to move around. I wanted to make sure that my community was able to get into this if they had it, and anybody else that wanted to, and had a good protocol, a project leader running it. And so that's, we're very grassroots with everything we do. And speaking of, like, I can't remember if there was a question about it, so you can stop me and we can talk about it later. But there, one of the biggest things about our project and what makes it different is that there's only 2 members of the team. I have a full team for Frozen Walrus, of course, but it's just me and Sean because there's not a lot of overhead, right? And so with that, later in the white paper, we'll see that there's not a lot of cut in on the profits that you as a user will be able to receive because I only have to overhead for 2 people, me, which I never really take that much money for my projects anyway, and then Sean, who gets it from a different way. And I think we do talk about that later. But, with Frozen Walrus backing this project, me being, DeFi oriented and already being integrated in DeFi with an entire project is we had a treasury to invest in this. And so we were able to secure the miners already, secure the lease already. We, without having to mint out at 1,800 NFTs, which is not even a phase 1 mint out, say that was the worst case scenario, right? We're able to still provide you all one farm of KA3s, the top-notch miners that will be earning on 1,800 NFTs. So worst case scenario, everything's paid off and 1,800 NFTs will get a bigger piece of the pie. And those are some of the things that I try to do to take risk off the table for new users.
Good to know. So when you hit 1,800, which you're halfway there already, and you guys just started minting the other day, like yesterday or something. You're already at 803. I just pulled this up. Yeah, 803, and so you're about halfway there. For phase 1 minimum minting.
We need 1,000 mints and we're ready to go. That pays off the rest of the miners we purchased.
Okay.
And that's it. We already have our location, lease, business insurance, everything.
Wow.
This puppy's ready to print,
Well, that's awesome. So another question, where will the NFTs trade on the secondary market?
So this is actually a really cool thing that I haven't spoken about or released yet, but because this video is actually releasing a day after we're recording here today, I can speak about it because I know it's coming out tonight. So there is a really cool, so I'm giving you the alpha, Alex.
I'm getting the alpha, whatever that means. The alpha, man. I love that word.
Speaking of alpha, it's Wshare, which is an NFT marketplace that, talks to a lot of big projects right now. They're trying to get their name for themselves. They have a beautiful mint page, and we are actually going to be listing and verified through them. I spoke to, his name is sub.eth. You know, me and him came from very similar backgrounds in DeFi, and when we met up, I talked about my project, and he's very interested because he's been talking to Hydro Wells. They're actually going omni-chain very soon because right now they're very local to AVAX. And as we know, the AVAX NFT market is a little bit flatter than over at Ethereum, so they're trying to capture, of course, more revenue. But Wshare's NFT marketplace is not only just going to list this and verifies, you're actually going to be able to mint via their front page, which is huge. That allows access to our contracts and minting on an entire different platform with a bunch of different users. So all this is happening fast with this video. Of course, I have other AMAs planned and other videos planned. Marketing is just really ramping up on it. And so being at 800 NFTs, I don't see it being there for too much longer because we're really busting.
I mean, you have, I think, a James Pelton AMA tomorrow. So about the time this is dropping, your James Pelton video will probably be airing as well. And James Pelton is my dude, man. That guy, like, he's the real deal, right? Like, it's James Pelton. Like, as soon as James Pelton talks about this thing, I think in the next week or so, this thing's gonna be minted out. Phase 1's gonna be minted out, just because, like.
And Hydro Wells actually attested 2 people to their mint out because I asked them their phase 1 mint out. One was James Pelton. Number 2 was you. That was the 2 people. Yeah, they talked highly about you 2 as effective for these type of NFTs, and so obviously that's who I reached out to. But me and you obviously have a relationship past me just like randomly reaching out to you. There was others that I reached out to, but the ones that I wanted, which is why I've pushed Alex to do this in such short notice. I know that he prepares meticulously for these things. But the good news is that he really didn't have to worry so much about the trust factor. So hopefully that made it a little bit easier on him.
It saved me hours of vetting and the risk. I fret over the risk of new people, like networking and meeting new people, because I've spent literally hours and hours on video chat with you talking about everything out here and our personal lives. So I already trust you. I consider you a friend. We've collaborated publicly before, and also I want to say thanks to Sam. I didn't realize he told you that. That's really cool. I didn't know that. So thank you, Sam, and I'll be seeing you in like 3 days in Dubai. That'll be super cool, man.
That's so cool, man. I gotta say that real quick is that is so awesome that they're flying you out, but it's awesome as you as a person, because we've spoken about our lifestyle, and I live a very lower end lifestyle where I have most of my life. I've never even been on an airplane, and so traveling to Dubai that's insanity to me. That's so cool, and I'm very happy for you.
Thank you. And I've never left the continental United States. So for me, it's a really big deal too. It's my first like business trip out of the country. It's going to be a working trip. Like I'm going to be working the whole time, and like, but the fact that they're willing to fly me out there to do that, I'm willing to do the work just for that experience, because I might never, even if I'm in the desert checking out a gold refinery, I might never have that opportunity in my whole life again. So I'm gonna put in the hours and the work, and I appreciate Sam for thinking about me. And we already have the NDAs in place and everything, so it makes a lot of sense. Anyway, it's gonna be super cool, and I'm glad that you guys are so close, especially with this project, because Sam's the best at this. Him and his team are the best at this kind of thing, and like if you're working with the best, that's a good thing, right? I
seem to have finally hit a place in DeFi where my name means something, which is absolutely awesome for me. The next best thing for me would be like fan art. I've always dreamed of like having fan art about me. So if I become influential enough,
dude,
then let me tell you something. I'm on the moon. I could have $0 in my bank account, but fan art being made about me, that's crazy. That level of dedication, I've always I think it's so cool. And but we call it. I think Dow King calls me DeFi famous, and you say it too.
You're DeFi famous for sure. If you ask somebody who the most trustworthy project dev out here is right now, it's like, I don't know, they're gonna say like you, Sam, and like AJ from like EMP.
Yeah, another good friend, and I think we bonded together through the worst of the bear market, crushing all of these bad actors. We just saw it happening, and we were all like, yeah, maybe you shouldn't have been a piece of shit, and this wouldn't be happening. So we get to talk shit. And LB, another great person, a
I
friend of
like
mine.
LB as well. He's not as public as all of you, but
Of course,
he,
there's
you
not
know,
a lot of
he's
project leads that are just like going on camera all the fucking time and saying whatever they want. And
yeah.
so I've been blessed with that, with like no fear of repercussions on that end. And I understand the fear of it. It is fearful to be in this space and do what I'm doing, but it's the only way I can do it. I'm just a genuine dude that likes helping people and running DeFi projects, right?
Yeah, and I love talking about DeFi projects. I don't care what anybody says. I'm gonna keep doing this, and I'm gonna do it to the best of my ability. I'm gonna try to follow all the laws and regulations as best I can as they come out. But I'm gonna keep talking about DeFi and cryptocurrency technology, blockchain tech. It's the future. I think it's gonna be so big. So like I love
Already
this.
is so big, man. People don't realize that this is so integrated in our daily life. Our daily life is controlled by like very fast-paced environments like TikTok, and attention spans being shortened by the day, and they don't realize how much movement has really been had in the DeFi scene, and how much integration we've seen full across like just regular L1 assets. It's not going away. It's only going to be more solidified through regulations. So us being here at this pivotal moment in what I would say is like the world economy will shift because of DeFi and the products that we provide. And so doing this, to me, it is a real purpose, and that's why I love it so much.
I love it too. We are on the cusp of breakthrough after breakthrough, world changing stuff, and human civilization and society will never be the same again. Like in just a couple years, things will be so different from what they were before. Like it'll be insane to think about on the grand scale of things, kind of like when the internet was created. It's like another moment, and it's like all within our lifetime again. It's crazy to me. By the way, speaking of short attention spans, yes, I am full-blown ADD clinically. I am playing with a fidget spinner. Otherwise, I'd be flipping my pen all over the place. I am a high-energy person, as Austin knows. But I love how fast-paced this whole space is, because I kind of thrive out here, jumping from one new project to another and seeing who's keeping up with the trends and the technology. And I think you're making, personally, this is my opinion, I think you're making a smart move, diversifying into this sector of DeFi, the NFT mining category. Like there are a few people out here doing that well, and I think we need more options in that space. So I'm glad that you're filling that role, because yes, I want a Hydro Whale. Yes, I want an Ace Miner NFT. And yes, I want some Walrus Angler Club, because if any one of them fail, I want to have I don't want to have all my eggs in one basket with one team or business, right? I want it spread out. That way my risk is spread out. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
100%. And I think that the really cool thing about and why I'm attracted to these NFTs types personally is I love utility NFTs. I actually hold a special place in my heart. I know the mass public views NFTs as like JPEGs and like it got a bad name for himself, but NFTs as themselves, outside the DeFi world, you should view it as this non-fungible, like digital assets and digital world is going to start taking over, and having a way to have an actual non-fungible token that provides value by saying, this is mine, and having ownership of something. You have no idea, but you will, how important that will be. So whenever, you're signing off your deed on the blockchain in 30 years, guess what? It'll probably be an NFT or some variation of it. So just speaking about NFTs, that's my thought on them. But specifically, these mining NFTs are so attractive to me because it takes no upkeep from outside revenue sources. It is its own revenue source, and that is what's so beautiful about it. Realistically, it's just an investment opportunity for you to own a piece of a miner, and we are taking up the risk of the upfront cost in leasing, and you are able to profit off of it for helping us purchase it. And so that in itself is so cool that I run in DeFi scenes where all projects have to have some level of investors. This doesn't. This can run for years by itself based on, like being able to upgrade the miners and stuff. And so that's what's really attracts me to this style of NFT.
I do too, and a lot of people in my community are all about these projects right now, and they're looking for more projects like this run by solid teams, because this isn't like a super high degen crazy APR, flip your bag in a week or lose it all kind of project. kind of play. This is more of a 6-12 month plus,
Yeah.
like 2 year, maybe even longer type of play where you get exposure to these mining rigs, which are super, super expensive, hard to maintain. You have to have the right environment, air conditioning, all this stuff, the right kind of electricity setup, and they also become obsolete very quickly usually. So you have to be able to upgrade to the next one.
It's a
And
vicious market for these ASICs. People, very few understand.
it's crazy. In 1 year, the current generation in like 1 or 2 years are going to be obsolete by the next newer, higher performance, higher efficiency machines. And like, I would rather outsource that to capable people whose whole business is monitoring that, maintaining that, and making the decision of like, all right, profitability's gotten to this point and the new model's about to release. Let's set aside this amount of funds to upgrade to the next batch here. Boom. And then like let these ones keep running till they're not profitable anymore and just keep upgrading to that next one. I don't want to do that in my house. I want
a
to
hell of a landscape. And my business partner, Sean, just for a reference of what we've already done in our first big pivot, and some of what I do is best is probably pivot. But we were going to have KD6 miners, and you can actually scroll down and look at the profitability there. It says profit after power is about $211 for one farm a day with KD6 miners. That was the big hot talk. That was the big thing, right? Well,
Yeah.
Antminer, the biggest, one of the biggest producers of ASIC miners, released KA3s. Well, here's the great news about Walrus Anglers Club. These things came out October 1st when we launched our mint, right? Another project that just launched their mint couldn't have made this pivot probably because of this point. They went on market on Antminer for $5,300 a piece. We need 20 for a farm. Okay, so that's that's expensive. That's about 200K.
That's crazy.
Well, regardless of,
For me,
what
I mean, as like a retail dude who owns like a small animal sanctuary nonprofit, and like I run a real tight budget at home, like that's crazy to me.
They sold out in 30 seconds.
Dude, no way.
We launched on October 1st with our mint. These launched and we wanted them because what they offer, and I think you have the sheet up here somewhere. Maybe you don't.
Do you see it? Do you see it?
Here, see my I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So they are 6x better on profitability per day. And so you can see we're almost making 1,300. And by the way, this is a valuation on Kadena's current price. The current price that it is, I'll never try and baffle you with higher APRs or higher price tags or anything like that. No gimmicks here. That is at the price of 1.4. It's obviously dropped a little bit. Kadena is what I'm referring to there. But they sold out in 30 seconds. That night, in 12 hours, Sean had someone on the line from Hong Kong that he has worked with previous because he's been in this industry for quite some time. We were able to quote out 20 for $6,300 a piece. So they were already marked up $1,000. 6 hours later, you can't find them on the market for less than $10,000 to $12,000. So already our investment is 2x. We fronted it from Frozen Walrus Treasury. Another point that I wanted to make is that was the great news about having a backing from another protocol that obviously I run, is that I fronted it because I know I'm good for it and Walrus Anglers Club is going to pay it back. And so that is one of the lucrative points that I wanted to make is we're launching with the top tier Kadena miner from day one. So obviously these things go obsolete a certain period of time, but we are buying it at the most optimal time you physically can. And so that was one point I wanted to make is to show the price difference. And of course, this is going to change a little bit because as more Ant miners, KA3s hit the market, difficulty will ramp up at a faster pace because they are 4 times more efficient, meaning the network difficulty is of course going to go up. So we can base numbers all day, but I like to try and be fluid about that. And everybody wants, what's the end of line? What's every NFT going to... Listen, guys, there is 1,000 different variables in this, and me setting an expectation that can be slightly varied by the smallest of things would be ridiculous and almost it would be bad for me, I think, to represent something that may change in the future. And so that's why I'm kind of restrictive about giving out base models of every NFT will get this. But with that current model, every single NFT is producing about 1.3 terahashes in the Kadena mining world. So if you want to think of it like that, all 10,000.
So every NFT, all 10,000 will produce 1.3 terahashes.
That is with one farm, but
Okay.
the thing is that we're actually going to have many more farms, and
You're
of
gonna
course
have 3 if you mint out all of them, right?
the goal is to get 3. Now we obviously have to find and price out more KA3s or another type of farm via Litecoin or whatever else.
I also the cool thing is about knowing people out here is like your Sean is his name Sean?
His name is Sean. Yeah,
So
he's from New Zealand.
Sean from New Zealand, who's been in the ASIC mining industry for years, he had the contacts to source some of these KA3s that sold out in 30 seconds. Now, normal folks like me, I could never have gotten one of those. It's off the table for me, right? If I wanted to get one, I'd pay exorbitant prices. It'd probably be used, and I'd take a big risk because I could get a brick and have no recourse to get my money back.
Document out to my Discord when we made the purchase that night, just to get some excitement and hype that we got the KA3s. Right, I sent the confirmation order of 20 for the price that we paid, which is like a little over 120,000. We paid a 50% down payment, but we had to take it down. We had to take that document down because people were calling that place in Hong Kong and trying to outbid us on them.
No way.
Yeah, no joke. We had to take it down. Like Sean was like, "Hey man, you got to take this down." People are calling into this place and trying to outbid us. That's how popular this stuff is. ASIC mining, especially with what we've just got here. I do think Kadena is going to go up in price. A lot of people assume that it will go up in a bull run. A lot of people think that it's going to,
look at it earlier this year. It was at $27. And now it's bear market, like we're at the bear market capitulation phase, and it's down to $1.40. That's like 20x plus, like, and so over 20x.
That you're buying, all these ASIC miners, they're all going to 10x in the bull market because everybody's like, oh, now there's profit in DeFi, right? And that's how everything is in a bull market. Everything goes overpriced because the demand goes through the roof. We're buying at the best time and compounding through the worst time so that when there is good times, the payout could be drastically better. But I'm giving you baseline, bare minimum. We're still in a bear market. Shit's not getting any better. This is what you'd receive, right? And that's after, we get air freight the KA3s in, which would be in December is when we have quoted the price in about 2 months. And then we have a 6-month compound period. And then, of course, we start opening it up to NFT holders. Hey, do you want to claim and compound? And I know that you want to talk about that a little bit. So
sorry, you threw out a lot of info real quick. I just want to just touch on this last point that you mentioned with where the market's at right now for speculative mining, and that's people who mine a cryptocurrency and hold it and then to sell it in the bull market after it goes up. So with like Kadena, for instance, you mine it at $1.40. You're buying these KA3s at $5,000-$6,000 a piece, right? In a bull market, that same machine will go for 10x that price. So
100%.
People will be trying to spend $50,000 to get one of them, and they won't be able. They will be sold out like they are now, right? They'll be very hard to get, like even harder to get. And because they'll be making 20x, if you're making $1,200 a day off of each one, if you 20x the price, that's $20,000+ a day when the price is over $20. So that's nuts. And that's just if it hits the previous all-time highs. Like as we see with bull market cycles, like if it's a solid protocol, it generally goes higher, right? So like, I don't.
Kadena is also a maturing blockchain that's very new and has a ton of great development behind it and a ton of great investment into it. So I actually see it, as being a viable blockchain in the future. People debate about proof of work and proof of stake. Proof of work is the most secure cryptocurrency that is available. Like
Absolutely.
It's the most. And so proof of stake is cool, but we've seen what proof of stake can do. It just does not offer the same security, and proof of work's not going anywhere. It just has to have a viable power source. And that's great news for us because New Zealand is actually mainly hydropower.
There you go. As one of my next questions actually was, where will the mining facilities be located and how will the miners be powered? So
sure.
New Zealand and Hydroelectric, you said.
Yep. So we already have our power at cost. We've already got a contract for it. Sean actually lives 7 minutes from this location. He's going to get us a neon sign built for the Walrus Anglers Club logo and allow
Nice.
people that are close that want to travel there to go view the facility. We've even said that if you have over 10 NFTs, he'll get a label maker out and start labeling some of the ASICs with whatever you want. Some people have come up with some pretty ludicrous stuff, but regardless, it's very close. So the maintenance is being done by him. And that's another thing. My overhead is 2 people, right? Some of these other ones have like huge teams and they all have to be paid, right? So that's
Right.
pretty cool.
So I personally am a big fan of proof of work. I do think it is a superior ideology and technology than proof of stake. Don't get me wrong. Proof of stake has its I think it's a good thing to have, right? I think we should have both. But I think proof of work is more secure, it's more truly decentralized, and it's more secure. I mean, it's harder to manipulate. You can, when
Yeah,
you go to
fun,
proof of stake, you're
fun trying to hack
centralized.
into have fun trying to keep up with the masses that are introducing new ASICs across the entire world. Have fun
Right.
taking all those down at the same time. You
Yeah.
just can't.
And that's why I love Bitcoin, right?
Mhm.
I'm a Bitcoin maxi basically, but I am other proof of work curious. You know what I'm saying? So like Kadena,
I like it.
Litecoin. Yeah, dude, Litecoin. I like those as well. Um I mean, I think Raven Coin's even proof of work still.
Yeah, it uses graphics card algorithms or algorithms that are more optimized on GPUs. It was like they're trying to take up the steam from Ethereum.
Yeah, and I hope they come back because I got GPUs looking to do some work. Um,
Plenty of
but I can't afford an ASIC, right? But I could swing $100 for one of these. I could even convince my wife, like, it's a utility NFT, and she's like, "What the hell is an NFT?" And I'm like, just trust me. Give me 7 to 8 months, right? And
yeah.
I'll get into why that is. When I ask you some of these next questions, when will the NFTs start paying back the holders like me?
So I always go with worst case scenarios, or I try to. Say we get to 1,800 mints, right? And we've got them air freighted because we've of course already ordered the miners. We'll get them in December. We'll boot them up and get them working. And then 6 months after that is when you get paid. So from December, 6 months on from whenever they turn on, we'll be doing a compounding session because Kadena actually offers single staking through Kadena, one of their dexes that they built. So we'll be staking them in there and earning the whole time. And so that's another point is that,
Hmm.
you're buying over 100 now, but what do you think they're going to be worth when they have 6 months of speculative assets behind them? To me,
Yeah.
that's why the risk is a no-brainer. Not only the speculative asset, but having 6 months of compounded rewards of a very lucrative asset and lucrative miners behind it. I try to make it where no one really loses. Of course, there's always risk involved, and I try and make those very apparent. But hopefully, I do a good job at that.
Yeah, and yeah, there's always risk. DeFi is super high risk, everybody. This is like a small fintech business incubator, and there's a lot. It's an unregulated space, right? So you really got to know your devs, trust your devs, and all that. And that's why I am happy to work with Austin here because he's one of the few people out here that I do know pretty well and I trust a lot. So, but there's always risk involved. You never know what's going to happen. Even with something like Kadena, you never know if technology changes so fast. They might potentially have to pivot to something else as well. But I do like Kadena as a blockchain. I like their programming language. Pact is more secure than Solidity. It actually has more guardrails in the compiler and all that as you're working to prevent you from accidentally exploiting yourself. It has protections in place, so it's a more advanced programming language. It's supposedly more secure to work with, and then also Kadena is as it gets bigger and utilized more, it actually scales
Mhm.
very well. So it becomes a more efficient, it becomes more power efficient the bigger the network scales. So whereas like Bitcoin is kind of like people say, oh, I think Bitcoin, the power consumption kind of grows linearly as the network grows, but Kadena actually becomes more efficient the more it scales. So that's a cool aspect of it.
Yep. I think really Kadena does have a good chance at being a heavy blockchain later in years of development, and as people start using more products or start developing more projects on there. Of course, there is the gap of learning the new programming language. Solidity does actually have a lot of limiting factors. Solidity is a great programming language. Don't get me wrong, but Solidity does have some limiting factors in it that I actually learned about it with some devs. It really bases itself a lot like how I see Java, and Java is being like Java's not outdated, but it is very structured in how it's presented.
True.
But that's my thoughts on it. I think that Kadena is going to do really well, and they have the funding to bring in a lot more people and start building projects on there. So I'm very interested to see what we have here in the next year or two.
And Kadena is very business and project friendly. I think they have gasless B2B or like gasless business transactions, right? So if you're a business or a project building on Kadena, I think you don't have to pay gas costs, and then you pass those savings along to the end users of your projects. Now, I don't know the exact implementation rules for how that works, but check it out. You can find it all on the Kadena website. And so that's pretty cool that you found a single stake on a Kadena DEX, where these Kadena tokens that you are mining, you're going to put in the single stake, allow it to compound for 6 months. Then you'll take a community vote, and if the majority of the community decides that they would like to compound for another month, then that's what you'll do. Or if they decide, let's take profit this month, then that's what you'll do. Did I get that right?
That is 100% correct. And I think that I left it simplistic and vague for a reason. And that's because, as I was explaining to you, is that I'm always ready to pivot and always ready to make the best decision, I think, for investors, and listen to what's being told. And maybe there's a better opportunity there for how we do be able to send out these Kadena rewards to members of the NFT community. There's 3 to 4 things I can think of that we could approach it with. But until we get there, I don't know the most lucrative approach. So I've left it vague with what I would call the standard practice here in the NFT mining scene for now. But that's not to say that we don't have a more lucrative way for investors, because I know that if you want to go ahead and ask me, Alex, the main issue that we see presented with this,
Yeah, so my main concern with this setup, and maybe this is, kind of a problem with democracies in general, that there are going to be a minority that is unhappy. So if I say I want to start recouping my capital that I gave up to participate and mint one of these NFTs, then I've already waited 6 months. Now normally in DeFi I'm starting to recoup my my outlay immediately. But with this, I got to wait 6 months. So I got to factor that in, and then potentially factor in if the whole community wants to keep pushing it and compounding before taking any rewards at all. Then I kind of just have to like bite my lip and like just go along with it, right? So
things you could do there, but go ahead. Yeah.
So I guess what I saw a few community members saying in the Discord, which I also was thinking too with this model, is do you feel that people who want to start taking rewards immediately will feel that that model is unfair?
Yes, of course they will. There's always going to be somebody in DeFi that feels like that their position is more important than the next person's, and some people are going to be disgruntled about certain decisions that are being made for the masses. That's my job, is to make some people upset and some people happy. That's how it's always going to be. But to that point, there's a couple of things that I see as opportunity for those type of investors that feel like they've held for this long. What's going on? Well, not only can you just sell the NFT for the intrinsic value that's held with the 6 months of compounding, with obviously the mint price going up each phase, and also whatever else we develop in that timeline. Of course, you can always sell it and you'll likely get ROI, or even maybe potentially even more. But if a mass majority of people want to vote for something, and you bought that NFT knowing that that is the procedure that should take place, it could be frustrating. But honestly, you have to take a step back and say, well, maybe they know something I don't. Maybe, and that's not always true, right? That's not always true, but usually that is why we have, a democracy in the U.S. and in many other places, is because that is the smoothest possible approach. And so we may present new opportunities for people to be able to claim those rewards, or find a new lucrative way to have it not be based on a vote, but maybe via a price appreciation gap, right? Like, oh, Kadena went up by 50%. This is a time that we should reward holders and be able to send them these profits, right? Maybe there could be a price metric based on that. There's 1,000 opportunities. This is what I do all day, is think of new and lucrative ways to help my investors out. And so that is how it is, because it's the industry standard. Of course, it will upset some people, but there are ways. It's not like you're locked in like a node. Go sell it.
Yeah, that's true. And this is a similar model that Hydro Whales NFTs use, right?
Correct. It's pretty standard for most. There could be some intricacies, I don't know, but for the mass majority of what I understand, it is mainly based on this. You either compound that month or you claim that month, and those are the two options that you give the user. But that doesn't mean that we can't develop, innovate, and try and add new things to it.
Now, when when you say compound or claim, you mean on a community-wide basis, not a granular individual person.
Right.
In this standardized model that we have out here. But you said you're open to new ideas, and if you come across a better way of doing things that makes sense, that is still, better than this, you are open to potentially trying that, as long as it's all safe and everything like that, right?
We've got 8 months to that point, possibly, maybe even a little bit longer, depending on air freighting.
Yeah.
If any DeFi project owner tries to stick with a roadmap or exactly what he said at the start of a project before he ran it, I'm sorry to tell you, he will fail. And that is just a problem, in my opinion. This space moves at rapid paces. If I didn't make some of the pivots I've already made and some of the lessons that I've learned, we would be dead in the water. It's just impossible to assume what would happen in 8 months. And so there could be a new process that comes up, but just understand that baseline, this is what you could expect, right? Bottom line. But if something better comes up for the end of line user, I will always try and present that and make it a community thing. And you know that, Alex, you know that I love community discourse and allowing that space for investors to speak. And just because you're outweighed in votes and by other community members, and Alex can attest to this, does not mean that is what I go with. I go with whenever my logic is challenged, I do try and take a business approach to it and make sure that even if the mass majority benefit off of it, does it fit with my integrity? Does it fit with, my standards? And so, you could say a little bit more about it, Alex.
Yeah. So as some of you probably know in my audience, on a few episodes of DeFi Money and everything else that I do, the live show I do with Austin Clark and EAM Crypto, I have brought up a few times now how Austin, LameHillBilly here, he has shown exemplary leadership skills, in my opinion, because there's a really tough situation with their Back to Peg campaign contract, and how fast he was paying out to people to support the peg from the Treasury, and there was a community-wide vote to change the contract while people were basically locked up in it, because if you left the contract, you'd have to pay a tax until the price of the peg token got to a certain point, and then you could leave tax-free. But it was under that price, so there was a heavy tax if you wanted to leave, and the community, there was a proposal made to basically increase
until 1.01. Stop paying out rewards so that there was actually benefits, because people were gaming the system and it was upsetting, and it was costing me a lot of money from the protocol that I love and I run, and it was being gamed. That's part of being in DeFi. And like Alex, he came in and he said, look, man, I kind of feel bamboozled if you went through with this. And I took a step back and I said, obviously I trusted you, and I heard some discourse around it. And even though the mass majority really did want that to happen, because
it was like 200, it was like hundreds of people to like 6, and I was actually in contact with one of the whales who had a lot of money in that contract at that time, and he was also in the same boat with me, and we were both like, oh, I feel like this, if this goes through, it would feel like a honeypot. Like we were lured in with the terms of one contract, and then now that we're in here, the terms of the deal change. And when you heard the argument that way, you said, well, that makes a lot of sense, and I don't want anybody to feel like they've been bamboozled or honeypotted or anything like that. And you went against the masses basically, because they are all like probably maxis of some form, and they have stakes in the protocol and everything. But there's some people who were just in that back to peg campaign at that time, and like I had an exit strategy of when it got to like that 10%, I was gonna exit because I had made 12% on the rewards, and I had staked for like a week or so, and I don't know, and I would have made like a 2% gain, and that was like a win for me, right? That was my strategy. I went in with that strategy. So I told you all that, and you're like, you know what? Let's not do that, you guys. And you overruled the masses basically based on like a leadership call. You made an executive decision, and you stuck with it.
And I like to, I don't get to toot my horn a lot, but I did want to explain this also, is that the metric we were trying to get was Walrus back over $1. And to let people know, I actually only get paid out with Walrus, and I can only sell it when it's about 1.1. That's just my own integrity. And that means that the protocol is very healthy. I haven't been paid in almost 7 weeks now because Walrus, of course, is suffering from the bear market. So I did this under that pressure, and also not being paid, and knew that this would result in me still not being paid, even though there was an opportunity for me to game it in a way that I would have had a better opportunity to get paid. And I'm not saying that to say, oh, I'm Jesus, or I'm, you know, the best person out here. I'm just saying, faced through like heavy adversity, I've always made the right call. And I want to say that because I bring the same expertise and integrity into Walrus Anglers Club.
I did not know that part about the whole thing, by the way. So
Yeah.
I mean, good for you, man. I mean, money is tempting, and especially if you've only got a certain runway. I know how it is when you're running your own business. Like you got a runway, and like you got to get new income coming in to pay the bills and stuff. So I didn't know that you were facing that as well. So good for you, man. Like I said, I tell everybody that you showed exemplary leadership abilities that day to basically make sure that nobody was like wronged, because you hadn't seen it from that angle, but you listened to the minority and listened to the devil's advocates of the argument, and you're like, wait a second, I would rather pay out a little extra to get out of this rather than wrong anybody. And I thought that was like a really upstanding move you made. And I think in the long run, the whole community kind of agreed with it once you communicated the situation clearly.
Yeah, I mean, everything I do that garners trust or integrity, I feel like allows me to move in this space a little bit differently than some other actors. And I think that that'll benefit Frozen Walrus, Walrus Anglers Club, and any other project that I'm exposed to in the long term. That's really why I do it. And also, of course, I want to make my kids proud and stuff, and I want them to have a good role model. But mainly I do it from a business aspect of, if I can do it unscathed, then that's the way I want to do it. I actually do want to help people, and I'm showing you that my risk is on the table, and I'll do whatever it takes to provide you all a very safe haven. I can't promise you up prices, but I do what I say, and I always try and make things right.
And like, I won't go into details or anything, but like, I've also seen you in other situations where like you went out of your way, out of your own pocket to try to like just help somebody else, aka me. And I know you told me never to tell anybody this, but like, sorry, man. I won't say all the details, but like, I got rugged. I lost a ton of money, and it really hurt, and it put me and my family in kind of a like, because I had overextended myself, and like you reached out to help me out of your own pocket without telling anybody, and like I politely declined because like pride or whatever, but like
I would do the same, man. I understand that feeling.
yeah, man. I know you, and I apologize for sharing that, because I know like
it's okay. I mean, it's okay. Obviously, I don't want to stroke my ego here. I've done that to a lot of people in the space, and especially when I was doing well and Frozen Walrus is doing well. I gave out a lot of money. because I know what it means to have a little money, and I always respect money at any caliber. I always have. I came from nothing. You know, I still live a very low income lifestyle right now. Of course, I have a beautiful home and beautiful family, and I afford everything for them. But I know what it means to have nothing. I know what it means to putting risk on the table and losing it all, and what that can feel like. And I really do just want to help people. And I'm glad you shared it, because I didn't want to share it because that looks gimmicky. But you know,
I
it's
agree. I agree, but I appreciate that you did that. Like
um,
nobody else did that, and you weren't even related to that whole situation. Honestly, like I had just
yeah,
like you saw that I was like in a tough spot, and you reached out to help me, and like I appreciate that, and that's why it's one of the reasons I trust you a lot out here, because you go out of your way to help people, and you didn't want any credit for it either. So regardless of you not wanting credit for it, like I'm going to like I tell people behind the scenes, like this is a stand up dude, not to toot your horn or whatever, or like flatter you or whatever, but like I just want people to know the quality of character. And it's kind of rare out here in DeFi. Honestly, we're
I would go
surrounded
like
by
kinda.
we're in a den of snakes, and
Yeah,
I'm dodging like viper bites left and right. Like, and if it's scary sometimes, so when I have the opportunity to work with somebody that I respect and trust out here, I'm glad to do it. And there are a few people out here that meet that standard, in my opinion. Now, I think we covered that well enough. Anybody who wants to know more, reach out to me. I can tell you good things about Austin all day. And
all right.
I hope you stay true to your character that you've shown so far out here. I think that reputation will take you super far in this
I think so.
space.
I think the amount of networking I've done, like I think I'm about to have a meeting with Binance, the blockchain.
What?
Yeah, like the amount of networking, and like I also show appreciation and come from a space of learning, and that's why you don't see me making hard, you know, like I have to do this and there's nobody that's going to change my mind. Is that I come from a place of wanting to learn more, and when I approach users or individuals, I come from a place of not like, hey, I'm this and you're that. I try and approach it in a way that's like, how can I learn from this individual, and coming from it with a humble approach. And that's really what's taken me very far in networking as well, is that I'm not the smartest person ever invented in DeFi, right? I'm very good at talking to people, and I have a good character, and so that's what takes me hopefully the distance here, and allows me to remain full time.
Yeah, I think it will. I think integrity is worth more than smarts.
In
There,
this scene, it is.
I've met hundreds of very clever, witty, fast-witted people that can learn something quickly and do some cool little trick with code or whatever. Like I'm a software engineer. I've seen it my whole career. Like right, a bright young engineer that's like, oh, check this out, blah 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 blah. But then like I wouldn't trust them to manage a business deal for me because I don't trust them. I don't know their character, right? And
Yeah,
sometimes like being smart and having a good character aren't always.
they
It's
don't
not.
always mix.
No. So I think having a good character and integrity is the most important thing out here. Now with that being said, I do have some other questions I want to knock out.
Yeah, man,
Just
let's go through them a little bit faster. I'll be a little more concise.
you both of us we're loquacious. We love talking. We love people. So
Yeah.
do you oh, okay, here's a very important question. How are you going to pay out the rewards to the holders?
So there was a little bit of an internal debate about how we wanted to do it. And I think the simplistic approach is to allow users to just hold the NFT. We will bridge the Kadena. We'll sell it for L1 assets, bridge it to Ethereum, and then to AVAX, because there's not a native bridge, but I do expect a native bridge from what I see. So hopefully we can just bridge it straight to AVAX. But if not, through Ethereum to AVAX, and then we will pay out holders on a 1/10,000th scale. Each NFT will receive, based on if it's in your wallet, 1/10,000th of the profit. So if we make $10,000 and we bridge that over to AVAX, every user will receive $1, or every NFT, I should say, not every user, every NFT, and it'll just go and distribute through an airdrop. No claiming, no worrying about any of that stuff. Don't worry, I'll take that headache on. You just hold your NFT and watch your wallet.
Okay, so as a holder myself, I just have to hold my NFT, and airdrops will come to me appropriately, right?
Correct. Because on
When
the
the
blockchain,
rewards come out.
it shows you current holders of the NFT. All you have to do is download that, and you can put it in a bulk sender app, and it's very easy.
Yeah.
So it's not it's more simplistic for me to do that than try and take everybody's non-custodial Kadena wallet, because it's different than MetaMask. They're not compatible. So I would have to,
Right.
every time a user sold, have to accrue new data for each user that sells that NFT and has a new Kadena, and then there's also onboarding people to opening up a Kadena wallet. It's just very complicated. So I said, let's just make it simplistic and airdrop people.
So what happens to that whole 6 months of compounding? Do the rewards from that whole 6 months, do those all get paid out if they voted like, let's pay out the rewards? Does everything up until that point get paid out, or is it only the previous month?
So, likely there will be some holding of that to keep in the community wallet, which of course would go into more investments for you all as users anyway. Or there could be a metric where we're trying to get a new farm, or fourth or third farm, and we could say, look, this is where we're at. What do you all as a community think? Should we just continue using these 3 farms, or should we go for this 4th one? And we'll present that information. But mainly, you could likely see at least 1 to 2 months of rewards based on the new metric that we're going for in 6 to 7 months, at where miners are at the current time. Is there upgradable cost that we can use it for? That's why I try and stay vague in that end, is to show you all there's so many different points of pivot here that it's very hard to just say this is 100% what we're going for. And I know that's what everybody wants, but you don't have to worry about my intentions, and know that I'm looking out for you, and we'll take criticism or new ideas in that area.
Yeah, personally, and like I said, don't listen to influencers. Take everything with a grain of salt. Make your own decisions. Be vigilant out here, people. But I don't personally think that you are going to rug pull or anything like that. So I'm just trying to get an idea of how that's going to play out. But I do trust personally that you will basically choose the best option at the time based on the current factors to give the optimal value to the people holding the NFTs like me, right?
Again, I've probably given away close to $200,000, and I've also given away 350,000 of my treasury. I'm trying to rack up that 1 million of giving back to users. Eventually, there won't be a question of if you can trust me. It just won't be a question anymore. But obviously, I've had to prove myself for some amount of time, and I want you all to still err on the side of caution. Don't trust what I'm saying. It's verifiable. You can go look, but still never take someone at just straight face value.
I agree.
But I do
a
have
lot of people will have only seen you this first time watching this video.
100%. And although that I am DeFi famous, make your own conclusions about me as a person, and my mannerisms. And that's very important for people to learn, is mannerisms and understanding genuine people. I try and be as raw and genuine as I can. And I think I've properly represented myself in that category. But once you view someone like me, hopefully that gives you a little bit of indication of when you see someone bullshitting, because a bullshitter is a bullshitter, and I can tell them. There's a couple of people that I saw that came out of the space where I was like, don't know how they're still going. And then there they went, they dropped like a fly. But it's a very good, intuition is a very good thing to have as a DeFi user, for sure.
I agree. I agree. And that's one of the reasons why one of my requirements is like, I got a video chat with the person beforehand so I can see if they're doing any like any shifty business. Like, it's not like, yeah, I'm looking for devil horns and like demon eyes or whatever. Yeah, I'm looking for that stuff, but I'm also looking if they're like giving like tells that they're trying to like hoodwink me or get one over on me.
Grand gestures is one of the biggest ways you can tell if someone is making grand gestures. Get out.
Yeah.
Anything like that in DeFi, I'm telling you, grand gestures will always be fell short. That means the community will drop expectations and be disappointed. And that means the protocol has a way worse chance of surviving. Never listen to grand gestures and people talking like that, in my opinion. Of course, this is my opinion, but I've seen it play out a couple times.
I try to keep it as real as possible with people, especially about risks. And like, I try to give people the most like conservative, like, outlook on everything possible. I'm like, worst case scenario, this is what you're looking at, right? Best case scenario is like way out there, like But the people who are always selling and promising that best case scenario all the time, I think they're being a little disingenuous. Where it's like, here's like the real risk reward profile. Does that
Yep.
match your risk tolerance, right?
It's crazy how much more genuine and down to earth and baseline my numbers are, because I actually do want to protect people and to show like the risk on the table, and accurately represent myself as somebody that I am and not somebody that I'm trying to be. And I
Yeah.
think that that shows in how I communicate. And so, you know, just be on the lookout for it, I guess. Not that this is what this AMA is about, but I think it's good for users to know that.
I absolutely agree. And I'm always communicating with them about the shady stuff I run into out here. The amount of people that message me on Telegram trying to deceive me every day is absurd. I
Yeah.
really need to like hire somebody to act as that filter for me, because it's like it's exhausting to my humanity to like have to deal with like
I
always
know,
just
man.
like a wall of people trying to trick me. And anyway, so that's why I hang in a small circle in DeFi, and that's why like you're in that circle. We got like Pelton and like Dow King and like Owen, and like people that I like and trust, and like I got like Nat and a whole bunch of people like AJ and Danny from MDB, the Kyoto guys I like a lot. Like all these people like super like legit. Heck, I like the Ace Miner folks, like Zara, and her brother AJ too. Like they're straight shooters with me. They don't make grand gestures either.
Yep.
So anyway, like yeah, look for solid people. You could tell, especially if you look at their face. I don't know. It's hard. Not everybody's the same. Not everybody has like the same ability to
Agreed.
read people, and
Agreed.
every situation's different. Anyway, all right. Let's Do you plan? Do you have a plan to upgrade the machines if they start becoming obsolete when the newer, better miners come out?
Absolutely. Obviously, we'll price them at that time, and then be looking to the community to say, hey, this is what we need to actually use the rewards for, and maybe temporarily compound rewards for a couple of months to be able to pay for it via the Kadena. But, that's a hill that we'll have to get on. But I'm very confident that we can always get the most optimal setup with Sean. It's just what he's good at, and he found it, and we're using it. And so, yes, we are going to be looking for upgradable cost and what we can do for in the future to make sure that we are, what do they call it, bleeding edge. I
Yeah.
think that's the software term.
You mentioned something earlier that's super important to people listening who are new to ASIC mining specifically. The best time to start ASIC mining with a new device is as soon as it hits the market, because you have a runway but before the next best model comes out and makes it start becoming obsolete. So you want to
Yep.
start getting your return and your profit back as soon as possible. And like I expect, like in a flat market, I've bare numbers I looked at on like a Kadena miner. It seemed like in a year you might probably like 4x on it if the price just completely stays the same before you like have to start thinking about getting new ones and stuff like that. So it's like super lucrative. And that's why people are like fighting over these, because it's like a really solid thing if you know how to maintain and run these things. But it's even better if Kadena goes up, then like the numbers get crazy, right? Do you plan on mining anything other than Kadena?
Yeah, so we actually describe in the very top page of the white paper there that we actually do a basket hash rate. And so what we mean by that is meaning that each farm we open, we'll look to see where the difficulty's at on each proof of work network. And if we can price out better hash rate through Litecoin, through Bitcoin, through whatever ASIC miner is available versus the profit and the cost and the risk involved, of course we're open to it. We're not stuck with just Kadena. We really offer a service of basket hash rates, and there's a reason for that, is that just like people don't want to put all of their eggs in one basket, we don't either, right? We see Kadena as the moon token that has the most potential out of proof of work tokens, but that doesn't mean it's the most stable returns. So we can have a stable return ASIC mining farm, we can have a moonbag stable or a moonbag Kadena, ASIC farm, and we could do a Bitcoin one or whatever is most optimal. I promise you, Sean's seen it and knows how to price it, and that's the thing that we're looking for you all as users, and we don't want to be stuck in this category of only Kadena, right? Of course, we're bullish on Kadena, and we think highly of it, but that doesn't mean that we put all of our eggs in that basket.
So kind of along the same line, do you have any other means of generating revenue for holders, or any plans, or generating rewards, I should say?
Yeah, so we actually have a community wallet that 20% of every compound goes into. Each time that we do any kind of compounding or claiming or anything, 20% of that is going to a wallet that we will use to actually invest in DeFi protocols. But notably, the biggest ones that we're really going for is proof of stake, because we, again, don't want to put everything in proof of work. We'll do nodes. We'll do Ethereum nodes. We'll do AVAX nodes. I'd love an AVAX nodes because there's a lot of stuff you can do with AVAX nodes and mempools and everything. But yes, we are looking to use that to mitigate any kind of losses that we could see with miners if one becomes obsolete and we need to dip into other funds. We have this community wallet that will be engaging in investing in different types of risk protocols.
Okay, very cool. So I like that, diversifying the proof of work with a little bit of proof of stake, with that 20% of the rewards that go towards that community wallet, which kind of over time should essentially snowball if you're constantly putting 20% into that, and then that thing is also generating more rewards. It'll have a snowball effect, right?
Agreed. Yes.
So ideally, that would be pretty cool. Now, do you have any plans to lease out the mining facilities that Sean is putting together in New Zealand with the hydroelectric infrastructure and everything like that to any other projects that want to do ASIC mining?
So we actually look, everything's in DeFi right now for revenue, right? Everybody's looking for that revenue stream. We actually want to provide mining as a service and allow us to price point different leases and farms and allow protocols to invest the upfront costs. And we find all of the hard work, which is leasing, getting these miners shipped and received, upfront cost of the business, insurance, and everything involved in that end. Let us take care of that for a convenience fee, allow us to get more revenue. But we've already priced out some places in Iowa, some in Texas, some locally still over in New Zealand. But yes, we do want to provide this as a service eventually. And he's already starting to work on some of the documentation for it. Because again, I said this is one of his strong suits and what things that he wants to do to progress his own career in DeFi. So he's looking for those opportunities as well, not at the cost of, we're not going to lease out facilities or allow this at the cost of something that would be lucrative for Walrus Anglers Club. But there's plenty of leases out in, America and New Zealand, and actually even some other places that we found that have a very cut cost on kilowatts per hour. So there's tons of options, and we want to expand in that direction as well. So we do want to provide that for other protocols.
Very cool. And you agreed when we decided to do this AMA that I could ask you anything at all. So I'm gonna ask you about another project doing something similar that other people in the community are probably wondering about with what you just said. So what are your thoughts about? Do you plan to utilize other projects' mining facilities like Ace Miners NFTs to host some of your ASICs, to leverage their infrastructure to save costs, to add geographical redundancy, or for cross-marketing and promotion?
If it is more optimal, it will be looked into. That is what I'll say about that. But also, there is a lot of power in owning your own mining equipment. There comes a lot of risk, but that's what we have on the table, right? Everything we do is risk, and it's just mitigating that risk to the best of your ability. And I think that us hosting them locally and allowing us access to those, say everybody on the NFT vote that we should sell our miners because they're up 10x, our mining equipment, we can do that, right? We don't have to cancel any leases. We just sell the mining equipment, and we have a guy that sells mining equipment. Sean does that. So yes, if it can save us some cost and it'll help us say the community is compounded for 3 months and we have enough to get like 50 ASIC miners via hosting through somebody else, of course we'll look into it. If it's lucrative for cross promotion and everything like that, of course it's another area that is great. But for right now, I think that owning these physical miners is going to benefit the project so greatly in the next bull cycle that I don't think people are even expecting it. Because some people haven't been through a bear to a bull, and seeing how violent it can become in the in the positive direction
Yeah,
is something that I think few expect.
I've seen it myself. It's crazy. And I just, one of the reasons I bring that up is like I said, like geographical redundancy is another risk mitigation. So at some point you might, like, I know you were talking about like maybe opening a facility in Texas and all that. One of the other things is they could be a strategic partner just to keep, like, I can pass you their contact info because they're actually an ASIC distributor. They sell
Yeah,
ASIC devices as well. So they've been in the business a long time and they have access to some of the new miners, kind of like Sean does. So if you guys need to get
I would
more of a
love to
certain
speak with them.
type, yeah, I can kind of introduce you guys in case like you guys might be able to help each other out, because I really like their team and I really like you and your team with like Frozen Walrus and everything. So I think I like to see people that I like working together
Yeah, of
beneficially,
course.
right?
Of
Like,
of course, like, I've met the guy for that leads KDA hashing. I try to meet as many people as I can. Networking is my business, and,
yeah,
the more people I can speak with and if we can bring value to holders at at the same time as also having a positive impact in both, I think that's what every protocol owner is looking for. Some may be more vicious than others about the 50-50 split of that, but regardless, that there's always benefits to doing cross promotion. And I think that would be silly of me to be like, no, no way am I going to do that. Of course, I would love to speak with anybody that is in the same scene and learn from them.
very cool. Yeah, I think it'd be a mutually beneficial connection if you haven't made that connection yet. So I'll put you in touch with those guys, gal and guys. So what do you think about the other projects doing similar things? You know, like Hydro Whales, Kadena Hashing, Ace Miner NFTs. What are your thoughts on all that? I know you just
To
said
me,
you're open to
yeah,
potential partnerships.
to me, the great thing about these mining NFT projects is it doesn't take, again, like I said, it doesn't take any additional revenue like other DeFi protocols does, right? Like, of course, obviously upfront, like maintenance costs and stuff, but the thing runs itself. And so there always needs to be more proof of work for security to be optimal. So we're not really stepping on each other's toes, maybe stepping on each other's potential capital, but the actual mining facilities and how they mine and what they mine isn't really involved with each other in that extent because there's much bigger farms than all of us can produce anyway. So being able to work together is it's a lucrative thing. But our main difference is really just the risk that you're taking is much less, and then also the team involved is certified, doxed, and has been here for a very long time in DeFi world anyway. And I also only have two people to pay, and that's myself. And I've shown sacrifice in that area many times. And also, of course, Sean, but he is getting his methods of payment via how much we expand. So he gets more by how big we get. So of course that is lucrative for him.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. I think especially as this space keeps growing. Now people might say DeFi is dead, but I can tell you as a YouTuber, as a community manager of a general DeFi community, there are new people coming in all the time, every
Mhm.
single day, new people. So even if it looks like the TVL or whatever of, or the market cap of all of crypto is down in the bear market, more people are learning about this technology, learning the opportunities, and coming into here. So as we go to the next bull market, it's going to be even more explosive. And I think all of the people who kind of build and work together during these times are going to thrive so much come the next bull cycle. So I love to see that you guys are working with Hydro Whales already. I think that's just such a strong beneficial relationship to have for what you guys are doing, and it can also add diversity. So if like you don't want to have all your eggs in one basket in case New Zealand regulations change about proof of work, even though they're all hydroelectric. You never know what's going to happen. So
Of
it's always
course,
good to
yeah, you
have
know.
a little bit, at some point, if you get to the point where you could stick one over here, maybe stick one over here, something to think about. Just throwing ideas out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So, now other ways to kind of uh, support other projects. How is the Walrus Anglers Club going to support Frozen Walrus, or will it support it at all?
It will. Of course, we don't want to produce a product that can't benefit Frozen Walrus itself, because that's how I see it, is that Frozen Walrus is the foundation, the core, and then we release products on top of it that allow the Cinewares model to work on top of it. So, and this is where it comes into play of how I am, is that I've said that we can take up to 5% of the total mint, which is about 500 NFTs, to allow Frozen Walrus revenue from these miners. Now, the only indication of that changing would be if we have enough to afford. Maybe we're like 10K, 20K, 30K away from a new miner facility. I'm not going to take that away from the Walrus Anglers Club community, because at the end of the day, they have to be standalone products that mutually benefit each other. And I'm very adamant on everything I release off of Frozen Walrus that allows it to be that way. And so anybody that's invested in Walrus Anglers Club, don't worry. We're not going to suck it dry from Frozen Walrus's side to allow for growth and success on that end. Walrus Anglers Club can always be successful without any kind of commitment from Frozen Walrus, and we'll never try and take from it. But even if we keep 100, 200 NFTs, to me, that's very beneficial for the Frozen Walrus treasury, because we don't have to worry about trusting it, because it's ours, and it's a real revenue source, right?
So,
Oh,
you're
and
saying,
also, sorry, I didn't make that apparent. Every single mint, actually, 50% of that mint cost is going to buying Wshare, one of our tokens. And if you want to know more about Tomb Forks, I know that some may do already know about it, but I do have, like YaBonks said, plenty of videos on it to talk about Frozen Walrus more. But we are buying up the supply of Wshare with that. And so that is another huge benefit to Frozen Walrus.
yeah, and as we're seeing right now in this extended bear market, all tomb forks that have been around for, or seniorage protocols, I should say, that have been around for a couple months are feeling the bear market big time,
100%.
right?
We feel it hard.
So you guys are at the current time about $1 million TVL, which is actually very good for the current market. But like as you can see, the price action, it's something that you guys are trying to figure out ways to sustain in multiple means, and that's where you're saying, like, if you notice here, it's going down, but then all of a sudden you've generated this new revenue source. The NFT minting started, I think, or the
Yeah,
talk of it started.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is that, like, people may not see my plan with Frozen Walrus and all these things I'm doing. I'm locking up the supply of all my tokens, or owning them all. I'm essentially going to be causing a short squeeze I'm making this very transparent, because I don't want people thinking I'm like doing this behind the scenes. I am trying to lock up the token supply, because we also have a balancer style DEX where we'll be doing a liquidity migration to even own our own liquidity, and pivot us into a blue chip, DeFi protocol that we're producing as well, for another revenue source for Frozen Walrus, but also to be able to host our own liquidity is very powerful. So we're essentially causing a supply squeeze in our tokens, so that when there is demand for our tokens, there will be very little supply. And of course, everybody knows what that would equate to. So that's really what we're gunning for with these new products and everything we're introducing.
Yeah, and protocol owned liquidity is very important in seniorage protocols. If you've been watching my channel for a while, I talk about this all the time. Tomb forks and seniorage protocols are very user liquidity owned dominated. So like the users will own most of the liquidity because they pair the LPs and stake it in the farm. And it really makes the protocol as a whole at the whim of the community sentiment. So if the protocol can start taking back some of that liquidity for itself, they get to really take back a lot of their power and stability to kind of defend against price volatility and big buy and sell movements. Like, it really gives you a lot of that control back. So I noticed here that 10% of all the mints go to the Frozen Walrus treasury as POL, and POL stands for protocol owned liquidity, right?
Yes, and so that was actually that needs to be remitted because it
Oh,
was
okay.
originally we were actually going to use Walrus Share LP to mint into, but that would have been very complicated for a user. Of course, we
Yeah.
were going to take 10%, and the reason I want to remit it is because I'm trying to give that value back to Walrus Anglers Club to make it as lucrative as possible. So we're actually not going to take any of that, and
Okay.
I've done that strategically to make sure that we can afford 3 farms without people thinking that frozen walrus is taking too much. I always fear that like some people say I'm not greedy enough, but it's for a reason, and so some of that needs to be remitted. I'm actually working on an updated white paper with a couple values changed, but that is one of them, and so that is kind of obsolete at this point.
So the new model here is that 50% goes to the Walrus Anglers Club and the other 50% goes to buying back Walrus Share, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So
And
W
I've
Share.
also made it very clear that I will sell Walrus Share to secure mining facilities or whatever else if I need to for the protocol. And by protocol,
Okay.
I mean Walrus English Club. Again, I want this product to work. I want it to be successful, and the sacrifices that I'll make to do that it will be grand at all times. I don't see it being an issue because we've priced it out accordingly. But I just wanted to make it clear.
Okay. So the main benefit to the frozen walrus ecosystem is that you'll be buying back W share with all these mints, and so 50% of the mints go back to buying back W share, which brings up the W share price,
But it also takes it out of circulation.
and it takes
Um,
out of
so we actually
circulation.
have almost 50% of all of our Walrus Share emissions owned, and we're only at 800 minutes out of 10,000. You can imagine what's going to happen when we have another 600K injected into Walrus Share as less supply hits the market. So it's just one part of the puzzle that we're
Yeah.
trying to produce while having all these ecosystems coexist and all of these products being ran and the balancer decks and frozen walrus is changing its mechanics. It's a beautiful thing to be building in the bear market because you're not constrained by wanting to try new things with higher liquidity because you don't want to fear the bank run, but the bank run's already happened. The bear cycle's hit here, so I'm building accordingly and trying to soak up supply.
So that will give you more control over the rewards that are paid out in the LP farms, right?
Correct. Yeah. So if we own most of our Walrus Share, there's only so much that can be LP'd. There's only so much out there to trade. And so, of course, with Walrus Share going up in value, the APRs are displayed higher. And then, of course, that ends up being a reason that users invest. Even though it seems like people don't understand the actual mechanics behind the share farms and how they work. And no matter what the APR is, you're always yielding the same amount of Walrus Share. But people look to the APRs for some reason, even though the value is not in the APR, it's the accumulation of the tokens.
Right. So you stake your LPs with like the pegged token and whatever is paired with, in this case, USDC.E, and then you earn a certain amount of W share based on the percentage of the TVL that you have staked yourself, and then the percent APR that it is shown here is based on that amount of W share and then the current price of W share, correct?
Yeah, so it's based on it really doesn't use any USD values to present you with how much Walrus Share you'll be receiving. There's no USD value calculation ever. It's the amount of it's the percent that you own of that pool. So if you own 10,000 out of 50,000 total in the pool, you own 20% of that pool, which means if there is a dedicated 20 Walrus Share going to that pool daily, you'll get 5 Walrus Share a day. And it bases the APR based on what 5 Walrus Share would equal in USD value. That is how it's done. So even if you had all that and Walrus Share was $1 and the APRs were 0.00001%, but you saw Walrus Share going up to $100 somehow, well, you're still getting the same Walrus Share that you would have. You're just accumulating it at a different price.
I
I like to
see.
make that apparent because some people don't seem to understand that. They think it's like you're getting dollar values and all of a sudden it's dropping because Walrus Share value is dropping. But if you're long on an asset, APRs are very unimportant.
Okay. So, good to know. And Now back to Anglers Club. So you talked about an upcoming balancer style decks, and we've seen recently on Binance Smart Chain another tomb fork, well, a seniorage protocol. They're, I think, a United Finance fork. Anyway, Equinox, Ames DeFi came out with the Equinox Dex. It's a balancer style Dex on Binance Smart Chain, and they're using some of their reward, or some of their Dex fees to buy back and support their pegged token and their share token, or whatever. Now, your balancer style Dex, is it going to support Walrus Anglers Club, the NFT project, in any way?
Yeah, so I actually dislike the approach they use there, and that's not any slight to them. I love their team, and I speak with them a lot. I dislike their approach of doing the buybacks through fees from the entire DEX, because what that does is it penalizes users that are just trying to use the DEX, right? If you don't know anything about Equinox or anything about their tomb fork, users are paying those fees, and they're not going back to the user. They're going back to pay for a protocol you may not even be invested in. So that was one thing I wanted to make clear on my end, is that we won't be doing that. Of course, we'll have like burn features for Walrus specifically, because we own our own liquidity and we can do whatever we want with it at that point. So we're going to have a lot of cool mechanics at play there. The problem about producing something for the NFTs or stating something is it set expectations for those NFTs. I would love to find a lucrative way to allow them to come into the Frozen Walrus ecosystem via staking, or do something with Glacier. And we do have plans, and we've discussed it, and we're still on the brainstorming phases, because once you set something up, the expectation is there. And if you find out later, like a month later, that actually isn't a good commitment to make, then you kind of shot yourself in the foot by announcing it. So we are looking for ways to further integrate it into the ecosystem so that the user can earn even more off the NFT, even though itself is pretty high paying in terms of other NFTs. I do want to integrate it, deeper for my communities. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I think that'll I think that's a good idea. Build it out, abstract it, give it more use cases, make the whole game more fun, if you will. All right. So, do you have any, I know you don't like doing this, but do you have any kind of estimates or projections on how these NFTs will perform monthly? Now, I know this is all speculation, and it's
Of course.
not financial advice. We're just making
Hold
up
me to it.
numbers.
No, hold me to my exact numbers right now. I'm kidding. Of course, I can only produce the numbers that I have presented in my face from people much smarter than me. And right now we're equating a 2,500 mint with each. If you look at it right now, like I'll just do a live calc because I don't have it handy. We're producing about 1296 a day in Kadena value, and if we keep that while users are compounding, we times that by 30 because we pay out by the month. That's about $38,000. If we look and say that we're only in phase one at that point, right? No more is minted. That means 2,500 are minted. If we divide that out, that's about $15 per NFT a month. Ain't too bad for $100 investment.
Especially
not too bad at all.
Especially in a bear market, and that is that based off of Kadena being
at $1.40.
At $1.40. Okay, so if Kadena goes back up, would the numbers you just said, theoretically, would those numbers go up proportionally, you think?
Yeah, if Kadena went up 3x, I just calculated it's about $46 a month.
That's sweet, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, it's insane. These miners, these AMP miners that they've produced, they're boasting themselves, the company, it's a 70-day ROI, which in ASIC miner world is insane. And we're getting them day one, guys. So even if difficulty goes up, I guarantee that in that 6-month phase of compounding, we collect a lot of Kadena along the way, right?
Dude. So, all right. If these cost you like $6,600 or whatever, maybe $7,000 after all your expenses and whatever, I don't know. But you're making $1,200, almost $1,300 a day profit after power right now, dude. That's
a 100-day ROI. It's less than 100. Yeah, it's less than 100.
It's less than 70 or
yeah. No, it's so we paid about 121,000 for.
So this is for the whole farm. Okay. So
Yeah,
this is for the whole farm,
it's about
not one unit, right?
yeah, that's for the entire farm. So that's about a 93-day ROI on the current metric that we have for just paying back the miners itself if we were looking at it that way. But of course, we're not. We're not trying to recoup for us these miner costs. We're trying to recoup you all as you all bought the miners. So that's
Hmm.
really what it's about. But yeah,
Okay,
they have a lot of value. These KA3s have a ton of value.
that's good to know. So with all with the KA3 farm numbers here, that's how you get that 15 a month NFTs at $1.40 KDA. So right here is the whole breakdown of everything he was just saying with the current price of Kadena and the current state of the KA3s versus the KD6s in terms of difficulty, hash rate, power cost, and the price of Kadena. That's how you get this profit after power per day for each KA3 farm. And that's awesome. Super cool, man. I'm very detailed information. It's
Yeah,
good.
yeah. I try to provide as much as I could without it being drawn out to the point where it's going to change so much. These variables are going to have to be calculated different every single day, right? I just try and give a baseline, and this is what we're projecting. And of course, there's so much that can change.
Right.
But I'm very confident that that these KA3s are going to kick ass.
Yeah, I mean they're insane, honestly. I wish I had one. Best thing I can probably do to get exposure to one is one of these NFTs. So, or a couple maybe. I'm probably like I got one. I'm probably gonna get a couple more while they're $100. I don't think this mint's gonna last long, and I'm not just saying that as like a salesy kind of thing. Like honestly, if you guys are only minting out in phase one, 2,500 of them, you guys are already at like 800 when we started this AMA. I don't think, especially after a Pelton AMA coming up, I don't think these are going to last another week. So I'm going to grab probably a couple more because I can actually afford these ones. And I'm going to keep saving up for those other ones I talked about that I want to have a little diversification in. But yeah, so this is awesome. Now, what do you think, with all that being said, what do you think is the best strategy for retail traders to use in your project for Anglers Club?
Legit, we've taken all that out of the equation. You don't have to trade anything or think mechanics or what you need to do best. You just hold the NFTs and take part in the votes every month. Make your opinions known so that if there is a better opportunity for us, of course, we look into it. But that's it. That's your involvement, is coming in, speaking with the community, and buying an NFT and setting on it. We're selling it. You can flip them, of course. But that's it. That's really it. We took all the other stuff out of the equation. It's not really so much a DeFi protocol as it is just this is a certificate of purchase via your NFT that you're buying this basket hash rate.
Gotcha. Okay, and do you have any advice in terms of your own personal opinions on the market conditions in terms of in 6 months from December, the voting? What would your voting strategy be personally? As because you hold some of these, right?
If Kadena's under $5, I would compound it.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll be holding a fair bit, but I'm not going to mint them for free. Anything that I purchase is going to be my own risk. That's just how I am. Of course, my treasury can mint, and that is done via me. But those aren't mine. I do for giveaways, and of course, I give back to my community, and I'll be putting some risk on the table to buy these at lucrative times that I think that will build us the most momentum. Say we're at 2,300, I may buy some at that point to allow other investors to get in on top of me and things like that. But for me personally, I would vote to compound at that 6 month point. If we're under $5, we just have such a lucrative opportunity to use these KA3s and really milk them for as much Kadena as we can,
Yeah.
and then sell when it's actually at a lucrative time. Everybody always wants to sell the top. We don't need to sell the top. We just have to sell much higher than $1.04, which I think is possible.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, at that point, you're what, 3x on top of, and it's just these
Yeah.
things are just monsters, right? They're printing so much Kadena,
Yeah.
and there are only so many of them, and they're already sold out. Like you can't get it. So like if
Yep.
you've got some of them, milk them, like you said, stack that
Yep.
Kadena, wait for it to go up over $5 again, and then start taking some rewards. Cool idea. I tend to agree with you. So Not financial advice. Anybody listening, that is just us pontificating and spitballing. So, do you have anything else hidden up your sleeves?
I'll be honest. I probably communicate to about 20 to 30 people a day about like networking opportunities and new potential opportunities for my investors. Of course, I always have something that I'm planning, but I don't like to build fake hype. I just like to build, man. Honestly, I was made for this shit. You know, I do it 18 hours a day for 10 months now. I'm barely taking a day off. This is
Know
what
what
I
you mean,
do.
man.
This is in my this is in my blood at this point. You know,
Yeah.
it'll take a lot to knock me down to a point I won't get back up in here, and I will always be looking for something lucrative for my investors. And that's the thing is when you're in my project, like I am out here in the trenches fighting for my investors, people that choose me over someone else. To me, that is such a honor to bestow upon me. That you all would think that like, you know, your money's safe with me and that you appreciate me and what I'm doing. And so I have a real passion for this and I just want to produce value for my holders. And so, yes, of course, there's things that are being worked on that I won't discuss. And just know that it's all for a reason and a purpose. And if I ever need, you know, help in that department, I have so many networked people at this point to tap into.
Yeah, you
Um,
do.
it's a beautiful thing.
Now with all that being said, I want to run through some of my quick like security and risk questions, just so anybody new who doesn't know you or how you operate, and then also how these contracts are set up. So real quick, who else is on the core team for Frozen or for Walrus Anglers Club, and what countries is everyone from?
So it's just me and Sean. I am the only person with access to the contracts, me, myself, and I. Nobody can touch them other than me, myself, and I. And uh, Sean is from New Zealand. He's not doxxed, but he is, of course, to me. We go through everything through legal channels, everything signed off through on both lawyers. It's very official, and most of those documents will become public, of course, omitting our names because we both have a family, and there's just certain levels in DeFi you can't get to until you get to a certain status. So, yeah, that is the people that are involved. And again, the only funds that are managed, there is occasionally where I have to send those funds to Sean, of course, to send for the miners. But all of that is done extremely above board. And most of the time, he has to sign a legal document saying this amount of money is made for this purchase exactly, so that he would face legal repercussions.
Okay,
Not that I think he would, but it is a safeguard.
that's good to have safety checks like that. And so, are any of the team members KYC'd, and by whom?
So I'll be honest, Alex, I don't like KYC companies. I think they're a complete scam. That's just my personal opinion. I think that most people know more about me than they ever would if I KYC'd. That's just to be quite honest. I really hate KYC companies. I feel like you're exchanging funds for a marketing ploy. And there are so many people that have an opportunity to rug a protocol after a KYC. I think it's an absolute asinine process in DeFi. I never did it. And I have people that dox to me and KYC to me all the time. I have KYCs on my computer right now. You know, I built my brand through really being in it and being in the worst position and still providing value and integrity, and that's my KYC. And you know, there's documents and many of things that you can view in many discords and ask anybody you want that has any kind of status, and that's my KYC is through, you know, real work, not paying for it.
Okay, so you have put your face out there for a long time. You're a public figure, and you
People know I
have
live in
a
Kentucky. People know I live in Kentucky.
you
People
live
know
in
I have a
Kentucky.
family with 3 kids. You know, that's as honest and open as I'm willing to be. And I think that it's been proven. And yeah, that's just my stance. And I understand maybe other people don't feel like it, but I really feel like that's I won't say disgusting, but I really don't like the KYC game.
And then also you have a track record of like 10 plus months of above board actions. You have a good track record.
Again, yeah, and you can view it through everything that I've ever done. Even the past protocol, Snowy Owl and Arctic Fox, was bestowed upon me. I never took a cent. All verifiable on the blockchain. even though that was my full-time income and I never made a dollar. I even paid back money to those holders via Frozen Walrus and avenues through that. There is documentation on documentation that would outweigh a KYC 10-to-1, in my opinion.
Okay. And how is the team compensated by the protocol?
So there is a 5% developer fee on each for all of the mining rewards, and that goes to me mainly as another revenue source for me to continue my full-time venture here in DeFi. It'll be very small at first, but it could grow, and of course, at that point, I would probably feel obligated to use that money for actual development costs, like a new dashboard. And other lucrative things for you all as investors. And then Sean, of course, he has a piece of the mining, and he'll be profiting based on the scalability of this mining project, and that involves if we do mining as a service or whatever else. But of course, I will probably compensate him via the developer fund as well. But that's about it. It's very, very minimal how much we're being compensated.
Okay. I just want to, I do like to check to make sure that teams do get compensated though.
Agreed.
If they're not, they're going to find it elsewhere for their efforts, right? And that's how you end up with like rug pulls and stuff like that.
To also that point is I don't find value in taking salary from Walrus Anglers Club. This is another great thing about Walrus Anglers Club being developed by Frozen Walrus. My goal is to continue getting revenue and my share from Frozen Walrus, and of course Glacier being what I'm going for as a blue chip DeFi protocol. Of course, I'll be being compensated there as well. It would feel like I'm dipping into too many things for myself and too greedy. So it's not necessary for me. And that's one thing that you all need to understand is it's not necessary for me to take from this protocol. I really wanted to give this opportunity to investors, not only for the benefit of Frozen Walrus, but for the benefit of users as well. And that's just how I do things a lot of times.
And will Frozen Walrus's Treasury, will they own any of these NFTs?
Yeah, so again, a maximum of 500, but likely that number goes down based on how many mints. By mints, I mean like actual revenue of people coming in and purchasing these mints, how many we need to get to the next farm or whatever upfront cost we haven't maybe thought about that come up. We want to be prepared. So I probably won't take those until towards the end of phase 4. Just to ensure that like we have all of our funds in place before I take any extra mints for the Treasury of Frozen Walrus.
So do you think that those, what do you think those NFTs in the Treasury, once you get to that point, how much do you think that would add to the Treasury that would go towards supporting Frozen Walrus?
So right now, if we do 250, it's around like, I think like 5,000 or 6,000 in extra revenue at current prices of Kadena, of course, for Frozen Walrus. So it's a pretty good source. Yeah, a month.
Nice.
So it's good. And what we eventually want to change our tokenomic model to is to be able to, what we're producing daily is the same thing that we're bringing in daily to have equilibrium with our assets. And that's really what I'm going for and trying to change the structure so that we can provide actual revenue from outside sources that can compensate holders via real revenue. And I think that's something that everybody's trying to produce, but I am pretty close, right? I'm getting there, and it's taking time, but we're taking the right steps.
So I like that. I like that Frozen Walrus will have exposure to this whole awesome Kadena mining operation and be getting monthly hashing rewards that go towards supporting Frozen Walrus as an ecosystem, which is what all seniorage protocols eventually want, right? They want to become sustainable with the revenue sources to get that balance and eventually tip it into positive scale where the protocol itself is growing and actually generating wealth for the users, not just kind of passing it around and creating like
and there has to be a level of what you're saying. There has to be a level of that to retain current investors. But I think it becomes easier when you're getting actual revenue sources. Like think about it. Glacier, you still have to have people investing in Glacier or investing but miners.
And for those who don't know, Glacier is that the detonator as a service from EMP?
No, that is our balancer name. It's Glacier.
Glacier is the balancer decks you're coming up with. Okay.
Correct. And so like that of course, I do want to bring it up, but it takes time to build a DeFi protocol to that extent because I do think that Balancer Dex, there isn't one offered on AVAX. There is only Trader Joe. And I think there's a huge opportunity for the market for that. And so I'm very happy to bring that up. And we're trying to make it as big as possible. I'm trying to speak with Ava Labs and really bring it to the top-notch DeFi level. Of course, I want my career to shine as high as it can. That's what I'm gunning for. But also these DeFi miners, it doesn't take anything for them to run. Like it doesn't take any extra revenue, again, other than maintenance costs and everything else. It doesn't require users to be cycling in and out of it. It just is producing, right? It just is. And it brings it back into Frozen Walrus. And that's a net gain for everybody.
Awesome. So do you have insurance or warranties on the machines?
We do. We have business insurance, and they know exactly what they are because Sean's used them before. So they know exactly what we are insuring. And he has it currently right now for our lease over in New Zealand.
Nice. Cool. And is your smart contract or smart contracts audited? And if so, by whom?
So they are audited, but they are developed by a company called DAppt, who is a local U.S. Company that many of protocols you probably invest in are using right now. They're legally obligated to provide a correct, a service. You do get a service of work form through them. I feel very confident with them. All of their developers are in the U.S. And again, they're an LLC company here in the local U.S. So I feel very comfortable with them. They're extremely professional and build complete custom solution contracts. They're absolutely amazing. So I can't recommend them enough. It's DAppt. DAPPD. I want to recommend them because I told him I'd shout them out.
So if I remember correctly, I looked into DAppt before, and that's run by an engineer named Mark, who's runs now a team of engineers. I think does he have like 11 or 12 engineers?
18.
18? Man, they're growing fast.
18. They're getting huge, man.
Good for them. That's awesome. Very cool.
Yeah.
So DAppt, if anybody out here needs like blockchain development, full stack, Web3 work, DAppt is I actually
think that this is how DeFi will start becoming, is that there's a lot of project leaders like me that want to run a protocol, but don't want to deal with these shady devs in the next bull cycle. So they're going to use these people that are actually, US based, building custom solutions for contracts and projects and solutions. And then you're going to see much more custom work being done instead of forks, and DeFi will blossom much better from it. I've actually been using them a lot. My developer is amazing. Jumpman is an amazing dev. He's actually working on the Balancer Dex, so I didn't want to take him off for this mint contract and for X, Y, and Z. So I've been outsourcing some of it because there is a lot of work to be done when you're running 3 different projects, and so it's nice to have that as an option. And they're running MDB actually uses them full time.
I was just gonna say that. Yeah, they develop for MDB, which is one of my largest positions. It's been one of my best performers. And yeah, DAppt. They've
done work for Grape. They're on retainer for multi-million-dollar crypto projects. They have obviously plenty of testimonials behind them, and so I feel very comfortable with their contracts where it's not some jankiness that needs, not to say an audit wouldn't help, but I don't feel like one mint contract it warrants enough to pay for a 2,500 audit. It's just a mint contract for an NFT. It's not as expansive as something like a Tune Fork with like 15 different contracts, or like a Balancer Dex with over 55. Those are much more intricate.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think Truth Seekers, Dow King's, his like KYC auditing wallet big project. I think they use DAppt, and Mark is like on their board as an advisor and things like that, I believe. So that's I like the DAppt guy, and MDB uses them, so that's awesome. You use them for Walrus Anglers Club. That is a tongue twister when you say it so many times. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a bit of a tongue twister for sure.
So do you have any multi-sigs or time locks on your smart contracts?
So all funds are handled by me until we ever expand team members. I won't do a multi-sig. I would have to be more than 2 members. I just don't like that. I just don't trust a lot of people in the space, and that's no slight to Sean or anybody else. I'm very protective of what I do and my character and who I allow. And there's been a lot of people that can say they wouldn't look at $100,000 and just turn it away. There's not a lot of people that can do that. And I don't know what walks of life everybody's from. So they're on my ledger right now. Of course, Frozen Walrus is on its own multi-sig with other trusted members, and I may eventually bring it to a position of doing that. But right now, I trust myself, and I know my intentions, and greed hasn't stepped on my plate, right? And so those funds are handled by me. But eventually, we will probably see a multi-sig on the Treasury for Walrus Anglers Club.
Okay, good to know. And yeah, I personally don't know Sean, but I know you. So I'm personally comfortable with you managing the funds.
And
I don't
most
I don't
people
think
are.
you're gonna I don't think you're gonna run off. I'm 99.9%
Of course,
sure
of
you're not
course.
gonna just like disappear into the night. Again,
Like,
I always leave that
I've ran multi-million-dollar treasuries before and never touched a cent.
Yeah.
Just know that, and again, that doesn't account for much, but it's just part of it.
Okay. Well, good to know. And would your speaking of all that, with how important you are to this protocol, would your protocol be able to survive if you or one of the core team members left?
If I was one of the core team members left,
Yeah,
or
if you or Sean left to go do something else, or like, God forbid, the proverbial beer truck, that whole thing, like if one of you guys left the project, would it survive?
so survive community wise, I can't say that. Survive as in like structurally intact, yes, of course. My brother, who he works with me intricately, his name's Top Gun Hatch. He has access to all my files on my computer. It's sitting right here. We have an amazing relationship. He lives 10 minutes away from me, and he knows all the proper procedures. He's just as trusted as me. He's just not the front man like me. So yes, it could continue. There's plenty of people in my wake, of course, if I passed away, God forbid, that could pick up the reins. And even the multi-sig for Frozen Walrus, LB and beyond, I trust with my life. Of course, they can do whatever they want with the product. They know my direction and what I want to do. But if I'm dead and gone, I can't promise anybody anything. But I feel very confident that both protocols could still run without me.
So do you have like a continuation plan with like the Walrus Angler Club multi-sig that you were just talking about, that you said you were on? Do you have a contingency or a continuation plan in case of anything?
So Top Gun has my ledger, which is here on my desk. He does know my passcode.
Okay.
And again, I trust him with my life. If anything ever happened to me, he knows the proper procedure in place. I would get him to connect with very trusted members in the space, and he knows who I trust the most to start procuring these funds in some type of multi-sig so that they're in safe hands and not under just his control at that point, and allow an actual formation of new structure into the protocol with new members and stuff like that.
Okay. And for those who don't know, Top Gun Hatch, go into the Frozen Walrus Discord server. He does like weekly events and stuff where he interacts with the community. I think he does like game or movie nights and things like that where he interacts.
He does fantasy football leagues where you can send in some walrus and get into a fantasy draft every week. He does a lot of good work, and he does it with little community engagement right now, because DeFi is pretty much, with community. Any kind of, it sucks because like you want to do something fun and engaging for communities, but there's just not a lot of community sentiment there right now in any protocol because DeFi isn't a bear cycle. And so he really puts in a lot of effort, man.
Yeah, and he's doxed too. I've met him. I've talked to him face to face. That actually leads me to my next question. Do you think your project would survive if this bear market continued for another year or two?
100%. I do. If you're speaking about Frozen Walrus, yes, because X Walrus is doing wonders. Eventually, we will capture all of the supply of X Walrus and Wshare, and then it only benefits us to run another year in the bear cycle for Walrus Anglers Club mints, because then we just get that much more Kadena and wait for a price appreciation. So yes, I do believe that if the bear cycle continued, I would just keep building and doing more things.
Okay, good to know. And what do you think is the biggest risk to participants in your project?
I think the biggest risk is the risk of, well, I'll speak about a couple because I do want to lay out the risk. Kadena could go down in price. Antminer could come out with a new miner in a month and not care anything about the KA3s. And that is another upfront cost that we would have to procure via minting or whatever else. The lease were to be damaged or someone were to steal the miners. Most of it is all physical contact or some kind of risk of price depreciation, whatever it is. The risk are there. Anything can happen in this world, and it sometimes does. And so that you as a user need to understand that you're putting $100 on the table. And these are the great things about the project, what I've just described for the last 2 hours. But here is some bad news is that, we could have defective miners when we get them in. There's 1,000 things that I could list that could be wrong. But there's ways to rectify these situations and mitigate risks to the best of our ability. But it is important that you know.
Okay. And as somebody who has worked on multi-million-dollar data centers, I just want to reiterate the importance of geographic redundancy in case of natural disaster or fires or anything like that at the facility.
Yeah, for sure.
At some point think about spreading those eggs out geographically. It's just like a data center in case something happened to one, you got a whole backup. Now obviously the hashing power, you'd lose some hashing power, but you'd still have some over here hopefully to keep going and maybe replace those machines with whatever that generates. Just throwing some of that out there. Now where do you see this project in 6 months to a year?
Making money. I think that we'll be distributing rewards, will be minted out, and I think that there's going to be new developments that none of us foresaw when we first started. In 6 months to a year from now, you're going to be able to interact with Walrus Anglers Club in different ways that you didn't think. And I think that you're going to be able to do it in a lot of different platforms and areas, and there's going to be a lot of partnerships and media and a lot of cool things that I'm pushing for, and that's what I push for every day. And so 6 months to a year, I see it being, hopefully everybody is able to procure ROI on their NFTs. That would be awesome. That would be a goal of mine.
Within 6 months to a year?
Yeah, I would love it, but obviously I can't promise it, but that is kind of where my head's at, with if we can distribute those rewards and we get into any kind of bear or bull cycle that we're able to take the price appreciation of Kadena, be able to hand it out to these holders that have committed this capital, and being able to get that off the table, then those things became so much better. Like everybody's gonna love them at that point. They're just holding on to free money at that point, right?
Yeah, and the bull cycle could expedite that process so fast. Like,
it is insane how much a bull market would help everybody that is watching this video that's invested in Walrus Anglers Club.
If Kadena did go over $5 again in this year, then that $15 a month at the current prices would be what, $75 a month, and that's a month and a week basically. It's 5 weeks and and you've gotten your mint price back, at least for the phase 1 mint price. Obviously, if you got phase 4, you waited to phase 4 to mint anything and it's $200, it'd still be 3 months at that point. But yeah, if you did the $100 mint, like what is going on right now, then it'd be 5 weeks and it'd be
for sure
recouped. So that's very cool. Where do you see this project in 3 to 5 years?
I think that's dangerous to even set a precedent for. I'll be honest.
I want to see your thinking though. I want to see
for sure.
Your
I'll let you know that I'm in talks with other people about huge. I think I told you a little bit about the people that I was speaking with about expanding the mining a little bit, and I don't want to talk too much about that because it's not my place to speak on it freely. But with my networking and what I've done in the space, I expect huge expansion on Walrus Anglers Club. God forbid nothing happens to me, and me and Sean are still working together in the capacity we are right now. I do see a lot of value being brought to these NFTs because the beauty of these and being a basket hash rate and allowing any type of ASIC miners to come in is in 3 to 5 years, DeFi is going to look crazy different. And so
So
again,
different.
we don't know what it'll look like, but my dream is to continue producing DeFi protocols and value for any of the DeFi protocols that that I run right now.
Okay, cool. And yeah, so that answers my list of questions. We're approaching 2 hours now. This is a super involved AMA. Like this covers everything anybody could ever want to know about. Walrus Anglers Club.
I told you when we started, I said I overexpand on every question because I like the user to know everything about me in raw format. And I'm glad that you've given me the space. And I know that your users love long form content. So hello, YaBonks users. I think you might be the only ones still listening.
My hardcore supporters will listen to this whole thing. Yeah.
And thank you so much. Honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I love it that that I produce any kind of content that people find is valuable. It means the world to me, honestly.
Yeah, I think your community and my core supporters will watch this all the way through. Obviously, I think the majority of people watch 5 or 10 minutes, get the gist of it, and look into it more, or not, right? Everybody's going to make their own decisions, but like the people who I think are thinking like, should I put a significant chunk of money into this? They'll watch this whole 2-hour thing because they want to know every single thing they can about it. And that's why I love giving projects and project owners like you the opportunity to lay it all out there, because I want this to be like a one-stop shop. Somebody comes here, learns everything they really need to know about this project, all their risks, the potential rewards, and that whole thing to make their decision with their own informed consent, not in financial advice. Is all edutainment, if you will.
Edutainment.
All informational purposes only, but it's really helpful, and I appreciate you being so willing to expand on these topics without hesitation. To really,
I told you, man. When I sent you a message, I said I won't even read this because I want to go in without like any. I don't like a lot of preparation for this stuff. I have a passion and I love this, so I attain information very fast, and I'm able to reciprocate it back very well because I was gifted with that talent. But also I love being able to use you and your platform and how you produce content to ask me literally anything, right? This is an AMA. I don't want any structure. I want you to come up with hard questions and see if I can gear, a attainable approach to it that people find as something they want to invest in, and seeing that kind of communication style between me and you, that oftentimes leads people to be able to see red flags or small intricacies in my behaviors or what I'm saying to produce, whether or not they are willing to take the risk on me, right? And that's all I can do. That's all I can provide as a project owner is this kind of stuff.
And that's the thing. DeFi, I say this all the time nowadays. As much as DeFi is about being decentralized, DeFi right now is a people business. It is all about people. I've realized at this point, every project, I won't get into projects really unless I feel like I understand the person running it. And that even goes for undoxed people. Like I have had to have listened to them talking for so many hours to be comfortable putting my money somewhere, unless I'm on like a gambling whim and on like a DeFi gambling bender. That's a whole different story. Yeah, we've all been there. But like for my longer term holds, or like the projects I like to talk about and tell people about, is generally like the people that I trust more so than others. So with all that being said, I just want to give you the last words here. Do you have anything else that you want to tell the audience before we wrap this up?
Just again, to show my appreciation, I always try to. I'm going to look directly in the camera and do my YouTuber shit. Listen, if you enjoy DeFi and you're tired of the disrespect that a lot of project owners, especially in the bull market, can give you, I really pride myself in the integrity and the ability to be a safe haven in DeFi, and to be able to give you proper communication that you deserve as an investor that holds these protocols together. Listen, I'm here and I do this daily because I love it and I want to be here. And my life depends on it. Honestly, my livelihood depends on it, and my credibility is everything. And I've never put that at risk once. And so if you enjoy that, read and research my content. Don't take anything here at face value. Read the content yourself, make an informed decision based on how you view me through this video and through the 1,000 others that I'm on, and know that I'm a genuine person, and you'll come to that same conclusion, but I need you to do it. And so if you are there, make that call yourself. And I deeply appreciate you tuning in and watching this far if you're still watching. So thank you.
Awesome. Well, thanks for that. And thanks for all your time. And thanks for all your videos, all your educational videos. If you guys haven't, go subscribe to LameHillBilly on YouTube. I will put his YouTube channel link in the description of this video. You'll also find, so much, yeah, you're welcome. You also find the link to the minting webpage to mint Walrus Angler Club NFTs if you decide to do so. I'll also link Frozen Walrus down here, and maybe I'll throw in some other links for like the Frozen Walrus Discord, which the Walrus Anglers Club is part of, correct?
Correct. Yeah, you can find all the information under the WAC, which is Walrus Anglers Club. We have a subcategory for that. You can actually verify as a NFT holder through that, and you can also start partaking in some of the benefits of being a holder of one of the NFTs.
And is Walrus Anglers Club on Telegram? I have a lot of people who are only on Telegram.
I have a Frozen Walrus Telegram.
Okay.
I am not a Telegram user, sadly. I'm sorry. I don't like the way that I love the form factor of Discord and the versatility you get, and the way that you can produce content on Discord is just so much more viable for a DeFi community, in my opinion. Otherwise, it just feels like a big group message, and it makes me anxious in Telegram.
If anybody has questions about Walrus Anglers Club and you're not on Discord, you're only in Telegram, check out Frozen Walrus Telegram. They'll probably be able to help you there. You can also join my Telegram. It's YaBonks official. Check it out in the description below too. I can, if you have any questions, hit me up there. But yeah, that's about it. I think that's everything everyone needs to know about Walrus Anglers Club NFTs. Austin, aka LameHillBilly, thank you so much for all your time, man. I know we've been talking now for like 4 or 5 hours straight. I've got a long night ahead of me of video editing and getting all the stuff ready to get this published tomorrow. I know you got to get some sleep before your big AMA with Pelton tomorrow. Good luck with that. Pelton's a great guy. I think you're gonna make a great video with him too.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for having me. I value your friendship deeply in this space when there is so much cloudy judgment. So I always appreciate it. I'm very upset with myself for not producing more content with you. And I think we will in the future. And I think that I think you're going to be a big YouTuber. I really do. I think that you bring a lot of value to this space, and people don't even know it. People can't even like trigger in their brain yet that this is value that you're bringing that no one else is actually bringing via your long form factor. And people can easily dismiss it by saying, "Oh, it's too long." You're doing yourself a disservice if you're not looking into these DeFi protocols to the extent that YaBonks is doing via his YouTube channel and giving to you for free. Yeah, like a few will understand that until the time comes and you'll be like, oh shit, LameHillBilly said some real stuff, and maybe I should have been listening. But I'm just letting you know, educate yourself now before this bull cycle, and come talk to me and be happy that you've been able to learn some of the talents that YaBonks has been teaching for quite some time.
Well, thanks for that. I appreciate the kind words. I'm gonna keep giving my old college effort out here on the YouTube thing. I love it so much. I love being able to do this and make cool content with people like you, and also to be able to make friends and network with people like you. So I'll be in touch with you tomorrow. So we'll wrap this up now. Thank you so much, Austin. And thank you everyone for watching. I appreciate all of your time and attention. I hope you got a lot out of this. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, hit me up on Discord or Telegram. Leave a comment below, like the video, leave a comment, tell me what you thought about this, tell me what you think.
If you're listening, talk some shit about me, say something about my face, or roast me a little bit, and then we'll know that you made it to this video, and maybe somebody gets a little prize for it. Who knows?
I love it. And also keep a lookout for my upcoming, I'm going to do a giveaway in the next few weeks at some point to give away one of these NFTs as well to one lucky viewer. So thank you, everybody. This is Alex here. This is the YaBonks Show. So thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you later. Bye.